we've been trying to get together for a while now. Equipment problems,
Hmm.
scheduling problems, that sort of thing. But in the meantime, I've had a piece published at the Federalist, which I'm sure you completely agree with 100%. But I thought I might mention
Federalist?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I really disagree with your piece. I'm just absolutely shocked that, well, first of all, Federalist is supposed to be a conservative, but I didn't know they were that conservative, okay? Because I really don't read them. But they published your piece, so this must
yeah.
be right down their alley. So that's where their readership
Well,
is.
I will say this about the Federalist. Okay, so Ben Domenech, who is the I don't know if he's the president. I don't know what title he has, but he's in charge of the Federalist.
Right.
Ben Domenech is married to Megan McCain,
Hmm.
um, John McCain's daughter.
Right.
So I am on the far right end of the writers at the Federalist, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, Me and the woman who I work with, who is one of the managing editors there, she and I we're at the far right end. So when we try to get stuff published, we have to, we really have to
Yeah.
jump through some hoops, honestly.
Hmm.
This one, no exception. With several drafts, because I tend to be fairly incendiary on these things, and some of that's got to, I've got to try to tone down a lot of that for Federalist stuffs. But at the same time, they still publish me,
Hmm.
especially obviously one of my beats is the trucking and regulation piece.
Hmm.
Uh, but the other one of my beats is race and that sort of thing, which
Right.
uh, especially when it comes to meeting religion and that sort of thing. But then I ran into this documentary, and I'm like, okay, uh,
Great
uh,
document.
yeah, it was very well made.
Hmm.
They got all the top notch actors in there.
Yeah.
But but I just I was struck by the message there. So anyway, but it got published. So at any rate, I would be, like we've been talking about for the past several weeks. Hey, fire away. Give me your
Give me
critique.
a mine. Okay. Well, you want to just take. I don't want to just start punching. That's just not fair. But anyway, well,
Well,
I was very disappointed in some of the things that you put in there.
okay.
I think you're coming from a I think you're coming from a viewpoint. I'm going to lay something on you, all right? We always talk
Yep.
about African Americans, Asian Americans, all those other things. I think we need to give white people a name because they just go by white. I'm an American. Well, not true. It's like our family.
Hmm.
We've been in the United States less time, our family, less time than a lot of the black people that their families lived through slavery and all the other things. We've
Yep.
been here less. So maybe we should consider ourselves either Anglo Americans or Euro Americans or something like that. So we can get one of those names too, because we we always want to segregate people by giving them one of those names rather than just calling them an American. It seems like, oh yeah, that's an African American over there. I can tell because look at him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
maybe we should start to calling ourselves maybe Euro Americans or something like that. Just think of that just concept as we
Right.
move through this. Okay.
Right. Well, and that's one thing where that I find myself going against the grain of the popular culture is, somebody who is of African descent, who is and again, I mean, again, my family, or our family in particular, we're fairly new to this country. I mean,
Yeah.
we came here after the days of slavery.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Four
and so,
generations here. Yeah.
right, 100%. So uh, I don't, I don't like that idea of calling uh, people of African descent who have a melanin count
Mhm.
higher than mine.
Mhm.
Calling them, giving them this special designation of African American. They're Americans.
Right.
So I do like that concept of, why are we dividing? Why are we doing this tribalistic thing of dividing each other up?
Yeah.
Uh, calling Asian American, African American, whatever, and then white, whatever you
Right.
want to call that. And if you
Well,
want
we
to give
just call
us,
ourselves Americans, right? We call ourselves white Americans or Americans, and everybody else is something else, right?
yeah,
So there's a
yeah,
big
no,
division between white America and the other people. Those people. I'm going to call them those people now.
right,
Okay?
well, right, and that's the thing that I think King was after, when he gave his speech
Mm-hmm.
on at the mall, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that we would be a colorblind society. I'm for that. I'm very
Right.
much for that.
Mm-hmm.
However, that the zeitgeist or the ethos of the times seems to be that color it is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really that we can't overlook color. That in fact, if you do overlook color, you are in some way a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, or, so
Well, we get
yeah,
the people that always say, "Oh, I don't see color." Well, obviously you do see color, because
you do.
everybody sees color. What they how they internalize it or externalize it is their own business, right? But everybody does see color because it's a they like when I lived in Canada, we talk about visible minorities. Visible minorities are obviously people of color or Asian descent or whatever. They're visible minorities, right?
Right.
So okay, they're visible minorities, but they're still Canadian. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing about Canada, right? Versus America, we have to give them a label, which is kind of strange to me. Well, now it is to me
Right.
now. It wasn't
Well,
as strange to me 20 years ago, but now it is.
yeah. Well, but who seems to be pushing this we need to see color agenda are the leftists. The conservatives are, by and large, from what I can observe, saying, we don't, we want to live in a colorblind society. So in
Mm-hmm.
other words, we want to see the color of your skin just kind of the same way we see the color of your hair. It's
Right,
just, or the color of your eyes. It's just,
right.
it's not a factor.
But that's not the way it is in our society. You know that.
Yeah. No, it
Because
is. It
people of
isn't.
color don't have the same opportunities that white people do.
They don't. Okay.
No, they don't.
All right. All
And
right.
like they tried to portray in this Netflix movie or documentary or whatever, that even though the 14th Amendment was passed and
Mm-hmm.
it was there to strengthen, I think, the First Amendment, not replace it as you put out. You put out here like, oh, we're going to get rid of the First Amendment because the 14th and the interpretation of the 14th. I don't think that's true. I think the First Amendment stands on its own, and the 14th Amendment strengthens that in the idea of equality. Okay, and equality can be stretched into those other words that the way you said about love and equality and everything else. I mean, but the 14th Amendment doesn't talk about love. It talks about equality, right?
Right. But however, the Obergefell decision, really the Roe decision,
Mm-hmm.
both of those decisions were I would say wrongly founded on the 14th Amendment, which is the case, which is uh, really what the thrust of what that documentary puts forth is that the United States is not founded on essentially the First Amendment or the Bill of Rights, let's say, but really it's founded on the 14th Amendment. It's kind of like the 1619 project, right?
Well, it's
Where
refounded on the 14th Amendment, and the reason is, if they didn't need a 14th Amendment, they wouldn't have done it, right? Because we had black people that were being released from slavery. They needed to be treated as citizens, right? We had to have something to bring them because they were three-fifths of a person or not a person. They were treated as an animal. They were treated whatever, right? And
right,
now we're going to treat them as people, as citizens, and have all the rights of citizenry. And this goes all the way back to the first part of this series, a six-part series, which goes back to the Frederick Douglass and everything else.
right.
Do you think that the African American citizens at that time were treated fairly as what equally as whites?
Well, no, not at that time for sure.
Well, then,
But
then they needed a 14th Amendment to try to get that equality passed, right?
no, well, no. I think what was needed was a return to the uh, the originalist understanding of what the founders wrote, which is that all men, again in the Declaration, all men are created equal. And
Okay, but when the Declaration of Independence was written, it was written up by a bunch of white guys that owned slaves at that time, right?
sure,
They didn't consider black people or slaves as men. Those weren't men.
right,
Those were things that I owned that happened to be able to do chores. You know,
right.
they
Well,
weren't men, so they
right.
weren't equal at that time. So the
No, they
14th
weren't.
Amendment changed that, right?
Well, no, okay, that's fine, and I don't have a problem. I honestly don't have a problem with the 14th Amendment. I don't.
Okay.
What I have a problem with is how it's been perverted to advance a political agenda, and a cultural agenda.
Mhm.
That's what I had a problem. That's where I have a problem. And again, I wouldn't squarely found the United States on the 14th Amendment, but the First Amendment, uh, and the Declaration, to say
Mhm.
that all men, even though those men who wrote those words may not have considered black men to be to be men,
Mhm.
um, honestly, I would disagree with them. I would say, no, you guys
Okay.
were wrong.
But
You
wait a
were wrong.
second. They wrote the Constitution. You can't disagree with what they wrote because that's the Constitution.
No, I
That's why
would
we have the amendment
agree
process
with that.
to be able to add those amendments,
Okay,
right?
and that's
To
fine.
clarify.
What has happened is the 14th Amendment has been perverted
No,
to grant.
before you get there,
Okay.
let's stay back to Frederick Douglass for a little while, okay?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and the reason the 14th Amendment came out is because we had to tell all of the American citizens that all men were created equal because and we had to define that a man was a man, not an animal,
Right.
not a possession to be bought and sold. All of that was over. We're going to have everybody that's a human being is equal, right?
Right.
And that's beyond what the First Amendment. That has nothing to do with the First Amendment. That's about
Well, it
equality.
does. Well,
How so?
well, no, the First Amendment, no, the Bill of Rights, as originally constituted, were meant to apply to each American. Well, not no, they weren't written to apply to each American. It was a statement. It was a philosophical statement to say that every man is born with these rights.
Okay.
All right, and the only people the only thing that can take these rights away from every human being that's ever been born in the history of man is government.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights was meant to say, is that everybody, everyone, every man. And when they say, again, that's the other thing, that's a cultural disconnect. Um, when they say men, what they're talking about is the race of human beings, right?
Okay.
They didn't have that cultural sensitivity to say, okay, the race of human beings. What they said was men. And what they mean, man, woman, child, everybody who's born on this planet is born with these rights from God. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot be, you cannot contest his
Mm-hmm.
authority. Every human being on this planet is born with these rights.
Uh-huh.
And that's what they were trying to, that's what they're trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, uh, whether they thought that, oh well, that doesn't really include African American. They didn't say that.
No,
They never explicitly came out and said,
they
okay,
didn't have to because their definition of men was something else. Because
no, well,
at
no, I
that
don't
time,
think so.
well, wait a
Yeah,
second.
well,
At that time, black men, Chinese, everybody else that was coming here, like to build railroads, the black men that were picking cottons in the field, all those things, those people were not considered to be equal. They were not men maybe the founders thought about that, but it had been lost somewhere within that 100 years before we got to the 14th. And for sure, absolutely for sure, women were not in that lump of all men were created equal because women couldn't vote, they couldn't own property, they were basically subjective to their husbands who did own property. There was no rights for women at that time, hardly at all, other than you're not going to be murdered because they were just maybe a notch or two above slaves, to be honest with you, as far as their rights were. So I say that what you're saying about, if you want to go to philosophical terms about what the founders intended, I'm okay with that. But they had a very narrow path with blinders on of their philosophical term. It wasn't like anybody in the world that's in the United States that's a citizen is going to be equal, because that's not what they did. They owned their own slaves. The people that wrote it owned,
Um,
right?
they did.
They weren't
And
equal.
so a couple things. Do you know why the 3/5 rule was put in place?
Sure.
And secondly, um, why? I mean, can you think of a situation where the men of that era might have not might have valued women higher than where you're placing them? Um,
I'm just placing them on a right scale. If they went to court, what their rights were, okay? Men can
okay,
place a woman on a pedestal in their own family and everything. I get that. They worship their women. They take care of them. They protect them. I get all that. And they really did. I believe that, okay?
okay,
But if they went to court, or they wanted to own land, or they wanted to vote, that was a no for them.
right.
Absolutely. And
Well,
I understand the 3/5 too.
okay. Why was the 3/5 thing put
Well,
in?
the 3/5 was not given equality. That was just to make sure that we gave them some speaking power, but not really a voice,
Uh
is the
huh.
way I look at it.
Yeah.
You
No,
tell me what.
that's no, that's not no. Historically, that's not at all why the 3/5 thing was put across.
Okay.
Because the 3/5 thing was put across by abolitionists.
Hmm.
You might not know this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because what they feared was if they gave the black slaves equal voting rights
Hmm.
as as an equal American citizen,
Right.
that they would that the southern slave owners would force their slaves to vote against anything that would abolish slavery. That's why they
Okay.
gave them a 3/5.
So even the abolitionists
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
didn't make slaves equal after the
no.
Emancipation Proclamation.
They
No.
well no. This was before that.
Hmm.
Um, the Dred Scott decision.
Hmm.
Um, you know, was a situation where the northern abolitionists, even Frederick Douglass, would not have wanted
Sure.
all black people to have it, at that point, to have an equal say in what was going to go on
Yep.
in American governance, because the southern slave owners would have forced them to vote against, or would have,
Right.
voted in their place, whatever else. So that,
Yep.
that kind of killed all that.
They would
That
have
was,
harvested all those black ballots and put them in themselves. I get it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Ballot harvesting was real back then too. I get it. Okay.
exactly, right.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's, I mean, that's the honest to God.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That's right.
But what I'm
So,
saying is that so we went from a place where slaves were property, that they weren't men
right,
or women, but they were property, and they went up to the 3/5 so they could kind of vote. But
right,
at that time, even then, their masters and things were voting using their numbers, harvesting their votes, so that way they could keep control of the situation.
right.
And the abolitionists knew it. And even you just told me the abolitionists were like, oh my gosh, if we let the black people have 100% vote. So even they were holding them down at that time. So we're going
Yeah,
through an evolution in our culture and in our country where we
right,
go from this grand white guy to letting them in a little bit, letting them in a little bit. And I think that that same evolution of culture and evolution of our laws is happening all the way through this whole amendment. And we'll talk about that because it's all about evolution. Some of the things that you are completely, absolutely against, I get why you are.
hmm,
And I respect that. And I respect your decision for those things. But our culture's changed, and
hmm,
our culture is going to continue to change along the continuum of this country because it has to, because
right,
people eventually think differently, and the laws have to change to abide to that. So we finally we went through all this Civil War, we went through the Emancipation, we had the Three-Fifths thing. We finally got up to the point where we got the 14th Amendment and Frederick Douglass to make everyone a citizen,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And that got all the men as citizens. But at that point, women still couldn't vote, right?
Well, so all right. So a couple things. Just
But
just
no,
going
really,
back.
that's a question. They couldn't vote then, so they weren't real 100%
No.
citizens yet.
Well. Okay. So let me go. I'm gonna be like Jen Psaki and circle back.
Okay,
All right.
circle.
All right. I'm gonna circle back. To so the United States. I mean, the UK did this the best. England did. England abolished slavery without a shot being fired.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we abolished slavery, we had to kill 600,000 people to get that done.
That was a
Right?
war.
Yep. So the Civil War.
But wait, a lot of people say that wasn't fought over slavery, but I
Well,
digress. Go ahead.
they might. I think it was, uh, but the point being is the end result was that slavery was outlawed and abolished in this country. We were pioneers in that. I mean, you have to remember that slavery, conquest, um, uh, you know, colonialism. That was the rule of the day
Mm-hmm.
until the United States came along and said, "Hey, wait a second, um, let's do something differently here."
Right.
That the United States, and again I would include England in that, they kind of joined us in that. They finally said, okay, what we're doing here, let's not do this anymore. This is not
Mm-hmm.
this is not productive. Um, because there's a better way to do these things. And in fact, one of the reasons why the North won the Civil War is because they didn't have slaves. They were forced to innovate and industrialize and figure out a way to produce, and when they did that, they became what happened to them? Were they weaker? Were they, when
No,
they
they
abolished
were much
slavery?
more powerful.
Ah, they became more powerful. Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, oh, we've been doing this wrong all along. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is not the way to go. To the idea that we have to, so these American ideas, eventually evolved, and that's
Good word.
why, yeah, that's why we can come along and say that, hey, we figured out that shipping African people over the Atlantic, bought by the way. It wasn't like we went over there and captured their kings and their princes and everything. No, their kings and their princes in Africa were selling those people to the
Wow.
slavers. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So they all came to their own free will.
No, they didn't come over there by their own free will. So you would go over to, all right, let's just say, uh, let me think of a
Well,
good.
you just go over to
Yeah,
Western Africa and
Western Africa. Yep, and the kings and the princes were capturing and gathering up their people to sell to the African slave traders. That's how they got them. They didn't. They didn't go over to West Africa and jump into the interior of the jungle
no.
and just, no, they didn't do any of that.
I
The,
think there was
the,
a little more to it. I don't think they were selling their own subjects. I think they were selling people that they were warring with within tribes
could
and
be.
people that
Yep.
they captured and taken
Right.
hostage, and then they would sell those to the traders. I mean, there's probably a million stories because there was a million people that were brought here. There's probably a million different stories of how they actually ended up here, and all
Right.
of them are sad.
Well, they are 100%, and yeah, it's tragic and heartbreaking. But however, the rulers of those countries in Africa were very
Mhm.
much involved and very much profited
Yep,
off of the
I
slave
believe
trade.
some of them did, but yeah,
Uh,
they weren't
so
selling their daughters though.
well, they weren't selling their daughters, but at the same time they had, like you say, no problem selling, a rival tribe's
Warriors
captives.
did.
No,
Yeah,
no, yep, 100%.
yeah.
So, so it was finally, Western ideals, Enlightenment ideals, Judeo-Christian ideals that finally said, "Hey, wait a minute, what we're doing here is not right." And not only is it not right, it's not productive. This isn't going to push things forward. So for the first time in human history, somebody said, "Okay, wait a minute, um, having slaves is not only immoral, it's against our ideals, whether you be a Christian or whatever, um, but it doesn't work. It doesn't help things. So let's stop this." And then when that idea was pushed forth by men like Frederick Douglass, and I would say Abraham Lincoln,
Mhm.
of course too, um, when those kinds of ideals were pushed across, then there was resistance.
Mhm.
Because everybody was afraid, because okay, so we this is what we've done throughout human history.
Mhm.
The dominant have enslaved the
Well,
this
even in the
this is
Bible, there's several tribes in the Bible that own slaves too, right?
well, yeah, well, but
So,
slavery in the Bible is not antebellum slavery.
mhm.
Slavery in the
No, no,
Bible is like,
that's way back when. But the concept of slavery has been around forever, right?
it is. Right, right. That's the point we really want to push across, is that
Yeah.
okay, we want to end this idea.
So the
Okay.
Judeo-Christian thing about saying, oh, the Judeo-Christian people saved America from slavery because of their values. I'm going to say that if you look up in the Bible, there's lots of places where slavery was okay. They didn't have a problem with it. So was it really the Judeo-Christian values about slavery? Okay, we'll give them some of that. But I mean, even the Bible had slaves too. I don't
Yeah,
want to get
no,
off on a just a
well,
Bible.
okay, so just to chase that rabbit a little bit, um,
Mhm.
slavery in the Bible is nothing like what antebellum slavery was like at all.
Right.
Especially among Hebrew. It was more okay. So according to the Hebrew scriptures,
Hmm.
I, as a truck driver working for a trucking company, I would be a slave.
Hmm.
They would call me a slave 100%.
Okay.
All right. So in Holy Scripture, just so read Exodus 20, and it will tell you what
Well, aren't you a slave?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. I
According to
mean, you
Holy
work for
Scripture, yeah.
somebody else. You work for a trucking company. Aren't you a
Right.
slave? I mean,
Well,
you have the freedom to change trucking companies, but are you really your own person, or are you a slave? Your
right.
your
Well, right.
your
So
well-being
so
is your toil is there as a slave to trade for things, right?
right. Well, I
Now
have
we're really getting philosophical.
right now. I have volunteered my skills to the exploitation of the trucking company I'm working for right now.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
Anyway,
Um, and as a trucker, I do have a lot of choices.
right.
I can choose to not give my skills to this particular company for exploitation. I can choose to give it to another company for exploitation. All right. So that's
I do
really
the
how.
same thing. Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much everybody does,
I mean,
and
I
that's
work for myself, but I mean, I do the same thing because I still have to have clients that I allow them to exploit my knowledge,
right.
and
Right.
they
Right.
pay me for it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the whole concept of
So the whole
alienation of
concept
labor.
of slavery is just people
Well,
volunteer
the
to be exploited. I think the slavery that we're talking about though back then of antebellum slavery
yeah.
was a forced slavery, right?
Right. Right. Where
You're
you
saying in the Bible it wasn't a forced slavery.
no, the slavery that went on in the Bible, especially in the Hebrew scripture, was okay. Hey, you know, Jeff, you go clear broke.
Yeah.
You just you're falling apart. And I
Mhm.
go, hey, let me help you out. I own this trucking company over here, and I'm gonna hire you to help me with my trucking company, and I'll pay off all your debts,
Yeah.
and you just come over here and work for me for 7 years. That was the slavery. That was the quote
Or I
slavery
sell
in
you
the
a couple
Bible.
of my sons. Yeah, that way I get paid up
Or
front.
yep, or
They
yep.
work for 7 years. I like that idea.
Right. So right. But
Yeah.
but that was the thing is, and then I mean, if you look at how slavery worked, I mean the holy, the Hebrew scriptures were very You want to talk about progressive? They were extremely progressive
Hmm.
because the way slaves were treated back in that day, for somebody to come along and say, okay, no, we're not going to treat slaves this way anymore. If you have a slave, then and they're indebted to you for 7 years, they're
Hmm.
indebted to you. That debt can only last 7 years. That's
Right.
it. And in fact, our own credit ratings are
Hmm.
still based on that. Because
Yeah.
if you have a debt for 7 years that's hurting your credit rating, it can only last for 7 years,
Right.
and then it drops off. That's
Right.
where that comes from. So the year of jubilation, right, where the slaves are free, quote,
I
they
don't know
they
if that I don't know if that is actually why it's there, but okay, I'll buy it. All right.
okay, but in those days, when they set those laws up, I would you would come over, you would work for me, Jeff and Tony and the boys, you guys, you all come over, you'd work for me, and I'd pay off your debt, and you come
Hmm.
over and work for me for 7 years, and then you know, uh, I don't know, Tony fell in love with Amelia, one of my daughters, you
Yeah,
know, and
that might be awkward, but anyway.
might be a little bit awkward, but but that's how the Hebrew law reads, is
Yeah.
that if the master, if you're a slave and you fall in love and you get married to one of the master's daughters, then
Right.
you get to
But
have,
American slavery didn't work that way.
no,
No.
absolutely not. It was
Once a
uh,
slave, always a slave. Born into
yep,
slavery, died in
100%
slavery.
right.
It
Yeah,
didn't work that way at all.
in my estimation, antebellum slavery, the African slave trade, was one of the most gross atrocities in human history.
I think so
No
too.
question about it.
Yep.
No question about it. So again, I mean, that's what that's why I'm saying that the Bible doesn't endorse that. Not
Shouldn't have
at,
brought that one up. Okay.
right. Well,
Let's get back where
and
we were. Let's start
okay, so
circling
yeah,
back, as you say. Okay. Let's
yeah,
circle back a little bit. So what you will agree to, though, is, well, I'm going to ask you to agree to it, is that we
yeah.
needed the 14th Amendment to actually call out and say everybody's equal.
Well, no, I don't. Again, I'm not anti 14th Amendment.
Mhm.
What I'm anti is that, see, the purpose of the 14th Amendment was to just crystallize, okay, these people that are here are citizens of our country and they deserve equal protection under the law.
Right.
100%. I agree with that. No problem. Okay.
Wonderful.
But, right.
That's
Absolutely.
good. I'm glad we got an agreement there.
Right. No, we got, yeah, absolutely. The thing that I'm disagreeing with in my Federalist piece is that amendment has been exploited to
We're gonna get to your exploitation, but let's take it through because there's six parts to this
yeah,
document. So
okay,
we went through this whole period of resistance, and everything for about 100 years. We finally got up to what they termed as weight, which was the third segment of the documentary. And
hmm,
I think and that's when we're talking about the 1960s civil rights movement, you know.
okay,
So
yeah,
what we're really saying is though even though everybody was still a man, everybody had equal rights. But now
yeah,
we're up to the 1960s, which is 100 years, four to
right,
five generations,
atrocious,
and
yeah,
we still don't have people with civil rights. How
yeah,
can that be if the amendment already says that they have it? I don't
right,
understand.
right. Well, there's several dynamics going on there,
Hmm.
for sure, and I mean, it is astonishing, isn't it?
Hmm.
That that when we fought, we had the Emancipation Proclamation, we fought the Civil War, we had the amendment added,
Hmm.
and yet we still have situations. We have a major situation where people are still being denied basic human rights.
Right.
It's like, what the heck?
What the
What
heck
what
happened for 100 years?
No
We
kidding.
still had people thinking
Yep.
that they were superior, right?
Yeah. 100%.
I
Right.
mean, those Anglo Americans were definitely had their feet there, and they're not going to give an inch to anybody else, all the way up to the civil
Right.
rights movement. And even
Right.
I'm going to, and you were talking about, and some of the things that you were talking about is, well, I think amend is about the disproportionality of prisons, of car stops, all the other kind of stuff. You really spent some time on the disproportionality topic,
Yeah.
and I don't think amend really said, geez, if we only have 12% African Americans, then we should only have 12% in prison.
Mm.
But then you went through a couple of numbers there. You said, well, it makes up 33% incarcerated, so we should let 20-some percent go because well, that's not what amend said. That's not what
Okay.
amend said. What the question they really said was, why? Why do we have more black people per capita in prison over Anglo Americans? Why African Americans more than Anglo Americans? What is because black people are bad? Is it because they're naturally criminals versus, say, Anglo American? Are they treated differently in the courts? Are they treated differently in opportunity and they don't, what happens to make that happen? Why are they overly represented in our penal system?
Right. Well, okay. So that's I'm glad you keyed in on that because that's the reason I put that forth was because what I I'm suspecting, I'm not claiming, I don't have any evidence of this, but what I suspect is the producers of Amend believe that until we only have 12, 13% represented of black people in the prison system, then the United States will continue to be an inequitable place to live, right?
Well, even here in 2021, we've got people that cross the street when a black person's there. People are scared why are they scared?
Well, so
Because,
no, okay. So that's a different topic. That's more of a
okay,
psychological topic.
all right,
But why are black men disproportionately jailed compared to white people? Is it is
exactly.
it be- is it because of the system?
I'm asking you.
No, I would say no, absolutely not. It's
So you're
absolutely
saying
not.
it's because the black men are disproportionately criminals versus white people.
I would say yes, that's absolutely right. Yeah. Black
So
black
black people are criminals.
black no, I wouldn't say black people. I mean you
Disproportionately more criminal than a white person.
I would say that I would refine that and say that black people, particularly black men, tend to engage in criminality disproportionate to their percentage of the population.
Wow.
Right. They do, and I mean that's just a fact.
And
That's
why do
not
what?
that's
Well, I don't know if that's so much a fact. I think that black men are maybe arrested more than white men for engaging in some of the same criminality. And I
no,
think that they
yeah,
get to court.
you're just not going to find any statistics to back that.
No, you don't. And I don't have
You
any statistics the statistics are that there's more black men in prison than white men. So going back to the source of that, why? Because
uh, but
were they held back in their education? Did they not have the job opportunities that they had to go out and commit crimes? Are they disproportionately more criminal than a white person because their brain has a problem with?
right,
I mean, you
no,
hear what
well,
I'm going
no,
with this.
right, no, it
So
doesn't
you
doesn't
can't
have
turn
any
it.
doesn't have anything to do with their skin color or their genetics.
Okay, I don't
What it
think
does,
so either.
what I'm convinced of is that what it has to do with is the black culture in America. And you want to talk about systemic racism? I mean, we've talked about this
That's where
before.
we're going.
Okay, so I believe I am 100% convinced there is massive systemic racism in
Absolutely.
America. The a number one piece of systemic racism against blacks in America is the public schools.
Against whites.
No, against blacks.
Oh, okay, you said whites. That's why I'm going, what? Against blacks. That's all right. I thought you meant blacks. Maybe I
Okay.
just heard that. I don't know. But
I
I was
speaking
like,
straight.
wait a second.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. We start in public
So
schools. You're absolutely
public,
right.
right. The public schools and the teachers unions
Yep.
are the number one suppressor of black children in America. No question about it, in my mind, because they're forced to go to these shitty schools where the teachers don't care, and they're backed by the teachers unions. Whereas if their families had a choice to go to a charter school or wherever else, which, by the way, charter schools, especially in cities like New York,
Here we go.
and yeah,
I know they outperform everything, and all the
yeah,
white people go together to charter schools, so they get great educations, and all the other people have to go to public school, and that sets them on a highway to prison.
no, well, again, yeah, the public schools are absolutely a prison pipeline
Yeah.
because they just, there's nothing going on there. The teachers don't care. Well, it's not only the
Well,
teachers don't.
they used to because I came from the public school. I haven't been in prison. You went to public school. You're not in prison. Well, not today.
Maybe I will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about where the vast majority of the black population lives, which you're talking about urban centers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's one form of systemic racism. Is
Yeah.
that black parents aren't given a choice where to send their children to school. They're forced to send their children to prison pipeline schools. That's
Well, and they're
systemic.
segregated from the haves
Yep.
and haves and have-nots
Yep.
because the haves will send their kids another place.
Right.
So my contention, and we've had this discussion before, hate to circle it back, but if we didn't have all those other options, then it would make our public schools better because the people that are the haves would make sure that those public schools were better because their taxes go there. And if
Nah,
we had more
no.
of a social leveling
I would
of the
just
playing, they would be better.
no. So let's just take a case in point, right? This is an example of what should be going on in the United States of America. Here in Indiana, we have school choice.
Yes.
So you are not forced to go to. I mean, I could send Isaac to a public school in Indianapolis if I wanted to.
Sure.
Okay. Um, and consequently, if we choose to send our children to private schools here, we are reimbursed the tax rate that we are taxed
Right.
to subsidize my sending the children to a private school.
Right.
Okay, that's
That's the law. Yeah.
yeah, and
So is that a good thing?
yeah, it's a great thing. It's a
It's
very
a
good
great
thing.
thing for you and your son, but
No,
is it a good thing for the inner city youth
yep,
in
it
your
is.
in your city?
It
How
is
so?
because they can the children in this community can choose to go to any school they want to, including private schools, and if they are below a certain income rate, they're going to those schools for free. So the school that Isaac went to initially is one of the oldest school. It is the oldest school in the state. It's called St. Paul Lutheran.
Mhm.
That school is dominated by black children. Dominated by black children. Why? Not because their parents can afford to send them there, but because the state has set up a situation where their children can go to school there for free. They want their children at that school. Yeah.
Well, not
Okay.
free. They take their voucher and they give it to the school.
Right. 100%. Right. That's
But
true.
maybe they don't have to pay any additional over the top of the
Right.
voucher.
Nope.
Where
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
you as
Right.
a
Where we make a little bit more money than most of the folks get there, so we have to pay a little bit of tuition.
sure,
Okay.
you just pay the net difference. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So to me, in my estimation, and I think, maybe not even in my estimation, but I think this is just factually true. I think a part of systemic racism is that we have locked these children, especially in cities like Chicago, cities like New York, cities like San Francisco, cities like LA, lock them in to, hey, you have to go to this school because that's where your district is, and you've got no choice. And God forbid you want to get out of there, um, you just have no opportunity to get out of there unless you figure out some way to pick up and move to some
Right.
other school district.
Yeah.
So they have
How,
no
how
choice.
does Isaac get to school? Does he, you guys take him to school?
Well, so the school Isaac goes to right now, is based, just a couple blocks from it, so he walks.
Oh, so he walks. Okay, well, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And that's the way neighborhood schools should be. I think
um,
that kids should walk to school. That's what I did when I was a kid. And,
sure,
you know, so I'm glad
right.
you got a neighborhood-based one now.
Well, right. So, but
But the one
but
you were just talking about wasn't neighborhood-based. You drove him to school, right?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
well,
Inner
yeah,
city
we
New York
did.
kids don't have that
Yeah.
opportunity to get out of their
Yeah,
neighborhood.
but all right. So right. But I think parents are fairly resilient, and if you and if you said, hey, you can send your kid to any school you want to, even the private schools, even the parochial schools, whatever, we'll subsidize it. You just got to figure out how to get them there. Parents have figured out how to get them there.
Some of them will. Yep, I
Yeah.
get it too. Some of them will.
So
With their means.
right. And that would force the public schools to up their game.
Hmm.
Okay, because that's the biggest problem with public schools right now is, hey, you know what? We're the only game in town right now. So, hey, sorry that we suck, but you have no choice. That's systemic racism.
So no, you're right. My kids went to public school here, and anyway, yeah, it is. That's the first step of systemic racism, and I'm glad you brought it up. Is that is the first step. So where's the next step? Where is the next hurdle that a person of color has to get over the systemic racism? After,
Um,
oh, maybe university. You mentioned that in here. That,
yeah,
why don't universities have 12% black in their university? Why not?
yeah. Well, okay,
Too many
so
in
that
prison, qualified because they went to a shitty school. What? I mean,
right. So that would be my second point of quote systemic racism is that culturally, um, uh, that there is a problem within the black community culturally.
right.
Okay, and as far as so so one of my favorite black authors on this is Jason Riley, who wrote the book Please Stop Helping Us,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
I
you've
love.
mentioned that before.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love the title of that book. Uh, but he tells this anecdote where he meets one of his nieces, and he's talking to his niece, and they're having a conversation, and he asks him, Uncle Jason, why do you talk so white? Because I mean, this guy's very articulate, and
Right.
I mean, and if you just heard him,
Well,
audio
for a
wise.
black man, of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, right. So,
Hmm.
but the thing of it is, who questions that, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I would not question that, but his niece, his little
Right.
niece, his little black niece, question like, Uncle Jason, why do you talk so white?
Hmm.
Um, so there is this culture in the black community of that resists education, that resists American Western values.
Hmm.
That says that we should fight against the man that teaches black people that they're victims.
We have our
So
own music, our own dance, own way of doing our hair. We dress the way we want to
well,
dress. We're different from everybody else. Yeah.
right, and we advance in life, and we have our own program. So we don't need this way of advancing in life.
Hmm.
Um, so I think
What you're saying is they
that's
segregate themselves with their culture.
well, they there is a culture that teaches so. So here's the big divide in the debate about what's going on with the black community particularly. Okay, is it that that Western liberal capitalism is the problem? That was set up by white men in order to keep white men in power and to oppress everybody else, or is it that there is a cultural problem in the black community? So here's another piece of that would bounce back to policy, um, systemic that I would call systemic racism, is this idea of LBJ, where he instituted this war on poverty. The war on poverty has kept black people down more than any other uh, policy objective that I've ever seen,
Hmm.
because it incentivizes a dissolution of the family. So in other words,
What do you mean?
well, because if
When I
you're
give
a
you that
single
tilt, it's like, what are you saying? Come on.
yeah, so if you're in other words, if you're a black family, so you're a black family, you've got a wife and a father, or you've got a husband and a wife with children. The amount of benefits that you get from the government are substantially less than if you just have a single mom.
Mhm.
So it incentivizes the dissolution of the family. So in other words, you will get more money. I mean, so the government has
So
in
why do you
essence.
break this back? How much the government's going to give a family? Why don't you? I mean, you're looking at it as though black people are all on welfare, and that's not the case,
No, no,
right?
no, no, no. I'm
I
not
look
saying that. I'm
around
not.
all my
No, no.
neighbors here. I've got lots of black neighbors. So probably it's
Okay.
50-50 in my
I'm
neighborhood.
not. No, no. That's not.
And
That's
these
not my
guys are
contention.
hardworking guys. They take care of their homes. They drive nice cars.
No, no, no,
They,
no, no, no. Okay, so I'm not generalizing here. What I'm talking
okay.
about is the government subsidizes to a higher level single moms than they do intact families. That's just a fact. So so if you're a young black woman, um, your goal is not to get married to a reliable man. Your goal is to get impregnated and have as many children as you can, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is the government is going to subsidize that behavior or incentivize that behavior above.
So what you're saying is they're incentivizing the welfare queens. That's what you're talking about.
Well, all right. I wouldn't. Yeah, I think that's pejorative. I wouldn't call them
Yeah.
welfare queens.
Well, you're
But but
incentivizing
but
so they get money, they get food for their kids, they get all these other things.
right. But
You know,
but why
these people are
wouldn't
living hand to mouth, man. They can't. I mean, if they're
I
really in
know?
those
I agree
programs,
with that
and most of
100%.
those programs don't even exist in some states. When you take some place like Arkansas, where all the money goes there to Arkansas to help out in those programs, and only 12% of the money actually goes in people's hands. I mean, it's like, come on.
So
There is
all right.
nobody. This
Well,
is like the abortion thing. You want to say you want to go to some extreme. There's nobody out there that's saying, geez, if I have three more kids, I'm going to get another $900 a month. Ain't nobody doing that.
that's not true. I don't think that's true.
So what you're doing
I
is
think
saying that is true, that people, that we've set up a system
no, I don't. No, I don't. No, I
to
don't think
make that
that's true.
true.
Yeah, I think you're completely wrong. I think that people do respond to incentives. I mean, that's a
I think they
basic
do.
rule. That's a basic rule of economics. So if you're in a situation where you say, okay, I'm going to be married to this man and have children,
Mm-hmm.
and this man is going to bring X amount of income into my household, versus I'm going to have this amount of children without this man, and it's going to be bring me a greater level of income. I mean, these people aren't stupid. They
Right.
understand. They understand that, hey, it's
Well, they
it's
say
for,
with the man there, he's supposed to be providing income. Without him there,
yep.
the government's going to help me out some. All right. But
the
he's probably
government,
there anyway, and the government's helping her
the
out
gov,
anyway.
yeah, that's the thing is, and it's not a guarantee that this man is going to help you out,
No,
right? So,
but you're doing this whole husband wife roles with children and all the other things. So you talk about that later in here about rights for women and how disproportionately when we talk about like women holding office about being disproportionate. We're going to get to that point too, you know.
yeah,
But let's
right.
finish up
Well, so
this
yeah,
quality thing.
but I would
Systemic.
say, yeah, but I would say that those are the two basic, foundations of systemic racism in the United States is the schools, the way the schools are set up, and the way the welfare system is set up. Because again, and I can, so I'll give you an anecdote and then I'll back it up with the statistics. So so my mom used to teach in Mississippi
Right.
and in the public schools,
Yep.
and the girls uh, that she worked with used to talk about how I'm gonna try to have my first baby by 17. I'm gonna try to have my second. They talk because that was their game plan. Their game plan wasn't to get married to somebody and raise a family. Their game plan was to have children so they could get on the government dole.
Mhm.
That was their game plan. All right. Statistically, that bears itself out because if you look at the illegitimacy rate, especially in the inner cities, you're talking about 80-90% illegitimacy rate. And when I'm talking about 80-90%, I'm talking about among minorities, particularly black people,
Mhm.
right? So that's a major problem, and the government is incentivizing that. That is that's you want to keep black people down. That is a fantastic way to keep them down.
So what's the
Is
solution? Stop
to
incentivizing?
stop incentivizing that shit.
Okay.
100%. Okay, now how do we get out of that? I'm not sure, but I promise you that if you stopped incentivizing that and you stopped forcing these parents to send their children to shitty schools, stuff would get better.
So do you think a majority, do you think that that's a small minority of minorities that do that, or do you think that's a majority of minorities?
No, I think it's obvious that it's a majority. Look again. Look at the illegitimacy rates in these cities. They are responding to incentives. This
But
is
we're talking
basic.
about
This is
12% of the nation. You're saying if there's 12% of the nation is black, 6% is women, so that means out of 330 million people times 6%, I have to do the math, but just not popping up in my mind. You're saying that's how many women are out there having kids and we're paying for them.
well,
And the
yeah.
majority of those women.
No, well, I don't know how the numbers break down, but look at what the results of you know of the policies of LBJ have been. I mean, again,
Do you think
more
this
than
happens with the whites of Appalachia as well?
yeah, 100% they do. We just don't pay attention to it.
No, we pay
It's,
attention to it. Yeah.
oh, we no, we oh for fuck's sake, Jeff, we don't pay attention to any of
Some people
that.
do.
Some people do. You and
It's just
I do,
there's many
but
more white people doing this than there is black people, just
of
because
course, of
with
course there are. No,
there's
there's no,
88% whites or whatever, or 80%
no,
whites.
yeah, there's no question about it.
All right.
I mean, but we
I
don't
think
pay
it's a very
attention.
small minority within our nation. And I think it's even a minority within the inner city. That's what I think. Now, you may have other numbers that bear it out or whatever, but I do agree with you about the systemic racism. So let's say that the LBJ thing is true, the school thing, the university thing, the
Hmm.
LBJ thing, they don't have a nuclear family, all these other things. I mean, I didn't grow up with the nuclear, well, I kind of did. I mean, I'm a product of a divorce, and then, I did have a stepdad, okay, but um, I, I think I came out okay, all except that weird twitch. But anyway. But so we got that going against them. Let's talk about employment. So the last company I worked for, where I worked full time, we had a little over 200 employees, and we had exactly 3 people of color that worked there.
Okay.
Why is that?
Um.
Nobody qualified.
Yep. Why is that?
I don't know.
Yep, that's good.
So I
That's
work in a
exact.
white collar job, so I mean, maybe it's just because of the schools and the lack of education with university, because the people that I work with are all university graduates pretty much, then they just don't have that many black university graduates to take those jobs, or maybe they're not interested in, you know, STEM fields, or I don't, you know, there's all kinds of reasons, right?
Right.
But I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to, I know the people from that company, and
Hmm.
I'm going to say that it was racism because there was plenty
Okay.
of, because there's no reason for them not to hire black people. I can't believe that
Okay.
black
So
people,
all right.
systemic
All right. Look.
racism in the employment also.
So all right. So the company you're talking about, um, are they interested in staying in business?
Yeah, they've been in business 20 years.
Okay. Um, so the problem with you claiming that them not hiring black people was racially motivated. So here's the thing.
Well, I'm
Um,
not going to put that up on my LinkedIn profile or something like that. So, all right.
if
I'm not
you
going to call
if
them out on it. We parted ways, and I'm done with them. There's a couple
okay.
other reasons for it, but anyway, that's part of it.
Okay, so if you're going to claim that they won't hire the best candidates for their positions,
Mm-hmm.
then you cannot at the same time claim that they have an interest in staying in business. They have an interest in oppressing black people,
Mm-hmm.
or they have an interest in staying in business. They can't have both at the same time.
So I can tell you that a lot of these kind of places will tell you, we don't have any prejudice. We'll hire any black person and do the same thing that you just said. We hire the best candidate, right?
Yep.
So does that mean that the black people are never the best candidate? Why is there systemic racism in the workforce like that?
There's not systemic racism because you cannot
It
again.
is.
There is not. No.
It's systemic
Jeff,
about
Jeff,
how
Jeff, you are being illogical.
it's no,
You
it's the
cannot. Okay, okay.
Anglo-American.
Does this company want to stay? Does this company want to stay in business and be
Sure they do.
profitable?
Yeah.
Okay, then they cannot at the same time be racist. They
Well, and
cannot do. The
outwardly,
market will not bear that. The market will not. Jeff, do you know why the Jim Crow laws were instituted in the South? Do you know
no.
why?
Sure.
Why? Okay,
Well,
tell me.
well, well, there's lots of Jim Crow laws. All right.
No, tell me why it is that black people couldn't drink at the same fountain, couldn't eat at the
Mm-hmm.
same lunch counter, couldn't be hired in the same way in the South because of the law, because of the Jim Crow laws.
Right.
Why was that instituted?
Because of how people looked at other people. So they put
No,
laws to make sure that
the
they
reason
kept them segregated.
no, the reason the Jim Crow laws were instituted is because the businesses in the South that were racist could not compete with the businesses that were not racist in the South.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's why those laws were instituted.
So you're
And
going to
and
tell me in the South,
I'm going to tell you, and Thomas Sowell, the black economist, and everybody else who knows why Jim Crow laws were instituted in the South are going to tell you that the reason that those laws were instituted is because they do not survive in a capitalistic situation. You cannot be racist in a capitalistic situation. You either want to be racist or you want to survive in business. You cannot marry the two. Okay, if
I
you
tell
want,
you what, you're wrong.
uh,
And the reason is because, you know, I've been in those because I'm an old fat white guy and everybody thinks we're all on the same page and we're all on the same team. But
right?
obviously, you and I think differently, and that's why we have these discussions, right?
Okay,
And I hear the most racist things in business all the time.
okay.
And
Well,
I've
so
called them out on it. I've said,
and
did you really
and
just say that?
right,
What did
and
you mean?
okay. So give me an example. Give me an example of what you're talking about. You hear the
Uh,
most racist things.
Well, it'll be an innuendo about a black person or something like that, or well.
Okay, all right, so we're talking about words.
Hmm.
Now, um, if I'm a businessman, I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
What I care about is making a profit. What I care about is
Right.
my bottom line. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, if if people are being, I mean, if there's innuendo and there's stuff going on in my company where it's making where there's racist things going on and it's making my minority employees less productive. All right, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'm gonna be like, all right, you guys gotta secure that shit
Hmm.
because you will not make my company less productive.
Hmm.
And as an employee, if I saw that going on, I would be duty bound to report it upstairs because I would say, hey,
Absolutely.
there's some bad shit going on down here,
Well, normally
and
that's
it's
why I call it out when I first see it. When
hundred
there's somebody makes
percent.
one of those kind of comments,
Yeah,
there'll be a bunch of white guys together, and they'll make a comment. Oh, I can't believe that guy got that. That he's doing that. Or
yeah, right.
I call him out immediately.
Call them
It's got
out
to be done.
100%. It should
Okay.
be done. Should be
But I'm
done.
going to tell you, if I'm
Yeah,
not there, and that same group of white guys, they'll be, joling and,
well, I
they'll
mean,
be going back and forth because I've seen it before
right,
I started calling them out.
right,
So
right.
I know.
Well, right.
I
So
used to be shy
so
about
yeah, I
it.
mean
It doesn't
that
matter
that
to me
that
now
would
because my
be, I mean,
income doesn't depend on it.
right, but the thing of it is that if you want your company to survive, if you want
Hmm.
to be profitable, then that's the kind of crap you got to root that out.
Really.
Oh
So let's
yeah,
flip it another way. Let's don't talk about black and white. Let's flip it another way. Let's say that you work at a company that is Christian values and everything, but that's not your thing. You're an atheist. But
yeah.
everybody,
Well,
so they talk about the atheist.
right.
Or
Well,
you're
so
part
okay,
of the
no,
team
well,
because you
no, but
didn't
that's
go to
that's a
prayer meeting in the morning with the rest of the employees.
right.
You know?
Well, that's a situation where companies again, hey, if you want to be a company of white supremacists, good
Hmm.
luck.
Yeah.
I will
Well,
I will
I've been in that situation before too, where they would have a men's prayer meeting before work on Wednesday mornings. And if you didn't show up to that prayer meeting as a leadership person,
yeah.
you wouldn't be in leadership very long because you need to be there for the prayer meeting. No matter what you believe, you
Mhm.
have to be in their prayer meeting because that's it, right?
So right, so private businesses should be allowed to decide. Okay, so this is where I go against
There's some discrimination there too. I mean, okay.
I
I'm
so
just, I'm just
this
giving you wanted
this
a
is
couple of examples, so I'm just kind of
this
giving you
is
an
this
example.
is where this is where I would go against the Civil Rights Act.
Hmm.
In some senses, is that private businesses, hey, if you want to be a white supremacist company,
Hmm.
go for it.
Right.
I'm never gonna buy from you. I'm never gonna frequent your
No,
business.
me
I'm
neither.
got nope.
You won't find
And
a My Pillow here at my house.
nope.
I can tell you that.
Well, and white, yeah, and but I sleep on a my pillow every
Do
night.
you really? You
Yep,
actually bought one of those things?
100%. Yeah, he's not a
Oh,
white supremacist.
maybe he's not a white supremacist, but oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Anyway, I
So,
shouldn't
so
even
the
have
point,
brought
the
it up.
point, the point being that you as an individual business, just like Amazon should be able to decide who stays on their platform and who doesn't.
Yep.
Um, Twitter should be able to, any individual business should be able to decide, hey, we don't serve black people here. Okay, fine. All right.
Okay.
That's how. But the problem comes in, and that was the problem with the Jim Crow laws. Is the Jim Crow laws came in and said this is the law.
Hmm.
You've got to do this segregation thing.
Hmm.
Um. So. Uh. Yeah. So at any rate, capitalism does not. Um.
In a, in a okay, I agree that in pure capitalism, it's not gonna fly because you're gonna lose
Nope.
all the customers and everything. I agree, but
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you that it goes on in America.
Oh, it goes. Oh, it certainly goes on.
So
It certainly
that's
goes
another
on.
part of the
Right.
racism,
It
systemic
certainly.
racism that goes on. Okay.
Right.
So the other thing,
Well, no, I wouldn't say it's systemic. No, it's individual. So there people that are individually racist in this country. Yes, 100%.
are
But
there
they're
groups of people that are racist together?
no,
Yes.
no, no. But no. So okay, if all right, if that's true, if that okay, so
I'm
I
just
pointed
talking
out.
about a bunch of white guys getting together and they make a racial comment about something. They all cajole each other. Are they all racist together? Or are they racist individually?
Oh, but no. But you're talking about systemic racism.
Hmm.
Right? So I named 2 points that I think are
Okay.
systemically racist: the schools and the
Hmm.
welfare system. Right?
Right.
Those, I think both of those are systemically racist. And although this might be apocryphal, what's been said about LBJ is, these N words
Hmm.
uh, want to have their rights. Uh, I'll, I'll get these N words voting for me for the next 50
Hmm.
years.
Right.
And he did it.
Hmm.
So,
So
so
what other part of racism are we going to cover today? I mean, we got
well,
about the workplace, we got school, we got government that's got systemic racism. What about the courts and the way people are, the policing system and the court system and the penal system? Is there any racism involved there? Systemic
I'm
racism.
sure there. Well, no, there's no systemic racism. So, I mean, what you
Courts
have
don't
to,
see any color.
yeah, no, so what you have to do in that situation is point me to the law that is
There's
specifically
no
geared.
law.
Okay,
Race,
right.
all laws point away from racism. That way, all white people can say, "Oh, you can." There's no law, but the undertone of what's going on with white people in their own lives and how they treat other people is racism. I can tell you that.
Okay,
So there
okay.
is no
How?
law saying you've got to be racist when you're in the court or the judge has to be racist or there is no law. There's no prosecution or handbook that says you've got to be racist or anything
Right.
or a jury handbook that says you have to be racist. But you're telling me that there's no racism in any of the courts or any way, the way
That
people get pulled over at night in their car, there's no racism in that.
um. Well, there might be individual racism.
And so a police officer pulls a black person over or a white person over, you think there's no racism how he picks the car. It's
Might be
strictly, it might be.
depending on the individual cop.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm a police officer and I see somebody who has a broken tail light,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And it's daylight and I've noticed they're black.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm a racist.
Hmm.
I'm like, I want to, I just
I'm
want
going
to
to pull
hurt
them
black.
over. Right.
Yeah, I want to hurt black people. Right.
Hmm.
If it was a white guy, I'd let him go. But since he's black, I'm going to pull him over. Is that a problem with the system, or is that a problem? Huh?
So I'll give you another example. Right here in Hamilton, Ohio,
Yeah.
a sheriff here that he was 100% against illegal aliens, and
Okay.
he was 100% in helping ICE, round up as many people as he could.
Sure.
So any Hispanic by color, being a
Hmm.
brown person, whatever it is, any Hispanic was to be pulled over and ID'd. It didn't matter if
Okay.
you,
So
whatever you're doing.
right. So
There's
is
no
that
other
is
sheriff
that is
now,
that
but
right? Is that a problem with the system, or is that a problem with that individual sheriff?
it's the county sheriff. He is running a system of sheriffs and officers and everything else. So
Right.
he's
But
out
but
there fishing for something, right?
right. But that sounds like problems with individuals
Sounds like
that
racism,
are.
but I
Well, it
guess
might be it
individual.
might be it might be racism. I mean,
So it's not
um
systemic racism because there's no law. I get you. I see what you're
right
saying. It's
right
not part of the system, but it is
right.
part of the system. I mean, I used to have to warn my sons not to go up there because they are brown sons and they're going to get pulled over, right? So
Well, well, maybe, but at the same time, well, anyway,
do you talk to Isaac about this? Isaac's not old enough yet for his driver's license, is he?
he's getting close. Yeah.
Getting close, yeah. You're
Yeah.
going to have to talk with Isaac about, about all the whole thing about being pulled over as white.
Of course. No,
Well, he
I
doesn't have
mean,
to worry about it. He's white. He gets pulled over. They don't care. He can reach in the glove box. He can fumble
uh,
around with stuff. He's not
okay.
going to get shot.
Whoa. I mean, you're just making wild speculations and accusations.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're telling me that if I, as a white guy, get pulled over and I'm being suspicious with my hands, I don't comply with the officer's orders, that he's not going to do something uh, that will involve physical force. That I mean, that's just speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm white, you're just speculating.
I'm
I can I
speculating. Okay.
I can assure you. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let me give
Mm-hmm.
you a really good example of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So after the Floyd thing happened, there were people rioting all over my city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is fucking Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Right.
People don't riot in this city.
Midwest. Mm-hmm.
Was coming back from my daughter's graduation ceremony,
Yeah.
and I came over the bridge. I think I've told you the story, and the
Mm-hmm.
rioters were out there. They were throwing water bottles and eggs at my car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I pulled over, called 911, and they had a major. I'm like, you guys know where So there was this whole argument about, where I am. I'm on 27 and this. You know where I am. You don't. Yeah, anyway, so they got there, and the the crowd was taunting me as the police showed up, and the
Mm-hmm.
police were getting ready to arrest me.
Right.
They said, "Hey, if you don't get in your car immediately, sir, we will arrest you."
Okay. Did the
Right?
911 operator tell you to defuse and leave the situation?
No, they did. The 911 operator was clueless. All they did was send the cops out. So
Mm-hmm.
in Fort Wayne the night that the rioters got gassed. That was my 911 call. Thank
Oh, okay.
God. Okay, but at the same time, the police were not playing around with me.
Yeah.
They didn't care what color my skin was. They didn't care what side of the issue I was on. What they were there to do was execute their duties.
They were diffusing the situation.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%.
Did
All
you
right.
have your gun with
So
you
I
that day?
did. I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Did you get shot?
I didn't.
Oh,
Thank God. Because I
thank
didn't
God.
pull my gun on the officers, right?
No. Did you have your gun out of your car when you were with the
No, it
riot?
was no, it was no,
Okay.
it was in my glove box. So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
it was there, and yeah, thought about pulling my
The
gun out.
repercussions of that, yeah.
Bad. Yeah, I thought, nah, that's a bad idea.
That's a
I'm
real
just
bad idea.
gonna, yeah.
Okay.
So it worked out.
But they didn't search your car or anything. They just told you to leave.
Nope, they just said, get the hell out of here, right?
Okay.
Right? Yep.
That
And
sounds like
so,
what they do to everybody. I think I'm going
okay.
to continue wearing a mask anyway, just because I like silly masks, and people look at it funny. And even after this is over, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, I'll still be wearing a mask. I'm going to start maybe more of a Batman style or something. Anyway.
I thought about so I've got this sweater that's a Boba Fett Mandalorian
Hmm.
sweater, and when
Yeah.
you zip the hood up to the top, you put the hood over your head and you zip it
Hmm.
up, and it turns into Boba Fett. I was
Uh-huh.
like, I'm just gonna start wearing this around.
You could.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's true. So anyway, yeah, no, I miss you guys. I miss the boys.
Yeah.
All uh, yeah. So yeah, I worry about Tony, and John seems like he's trying to figure stuff out. Jeff,
Yeah. He's doing some things. I worry about
yeah,
Tony too, although he's back at his regular job now. He got laid off for 6 or 8 months. He found some other employment. He wasn't sitting at home the whole time. He ended
okay,
up with maybe a month and a half off. Then he found another job for another company, and then they called him back, a month ago or more. So he's real happy
okay,
to be back, and he'll probably stay there like forever, I imagine. He's quite happy.
good,
And,
good.
yeah, but yeah, I still worry about him. He's still having some of the same demons still. So
Yeah.
We have to keep
Yeah.
after that. Set
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
example.
So,
You know,
well,
something different with me is normally I'm drinking beer or something with this
oh,
conversation. Yeah,
right.
I've taken a break from alcohol myself. So
That never hurts. That never hurts. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to cut back myself.
yeah,
Yeah, I've kind of embarked, even though, yeah, I've kind of embarked on that journey as well. So anyway, but yeah, at the same time, yeah, um, I would love to get all you guys together, like when I brought Isaac and Jen down there that Sunday night, and we all went out. I mean, it was all of
right.
us.
Yeah, we
So
went to the grocery store. Who takes you to a grocery store, right?
I know that was amazing. Yeah, we loved it. So we
So we're having
yeah, we're
a half-year birthday party coming up here in June because
okay.
my one granddaughter, her birthday's at Christmas time, so it never really works, and she never gets to have a party because Christmas and
Sure.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
we've done this before a couple of years ago where we did a half birthday. So
Yep.
everybody's lining up for that. So I'll get that date for you, and maybe you guys can come down during that. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
No, that'd be
It'll be
cool.
an all day
Yeah.
deal. It'll be
Yeah,
here at
that'd
the
be good.
farm. We'll get barbecue going, and
Oh man, that'd be great.
yep.
Yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. That's
Might have to get busy and get a whole hog or something like that.
that'd be
If we
awesome.
get enough people, I will do it if we get enough people to come over for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, that was one thing Jen and I still regret is we weren't able to make it to Jeff's wedding.
Yeah.
Uh yeah,
Well,
we
it was
just
November and it was a hard one. I get. Yeah. That's right. I've taken
yeah,
over my barn again, though. His wedding cleaned it completely out. It was absolutely wonderful,
yeah.
and now I can't hardly walk in my barn again. So, and I got rid of all that stuff, so it's not. I don't know what the heck happened. It's full again.
I feel you. I feel you. Like, what happened? We had this. Yeah,
That's
no, I know.
exactly what he said. We had this all cleaned out. What is going on here? Anyway,
Right.
let's
Yeah.
start moving equipment around, and I've had a couple little
Right.
projects taking some space.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to Jen Psaki you here.
All right, go ahead.
Let's circle back. So what
Circle
we are
back.
going to agree with, and I think we both agree with this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's racism, there's also systemic racism that's been holding back some of these folks, and that's why we're seeing these weird numbers as far as incarcerations and all this other stuff, right? So I kind of agree with what you had your premise in your article, but I don't agree that they said that they should release these people. No place in the documentary. What they did say is that uh, blacks are disproportionately represented in these areas, and we need to do something systemically to move that where it needs to be. So they should be proportionately represented. And it doesn't mean that we let murderers off or something like that, as you represented in your article, because I think you went to one of those extremes. You like to go to extremes. It's like we talk about socialist
Well, okay,
countries.
so yeah.
They didn't
Yeah,
say
well, all
let out
right, so
murderers or rapists or anything like that, right?
all right, so right. So the reason I brought that point out was to demonstrate that when we're talking about equality and equity,
Mm-hmm.
we're people don't see those, they don't agree on what those terms mean.
Right.
All right. So the reason I use that hyperbole, that extreme example of, okay, well, really, what should happen is we should just, and trust me when I tell you, there are folks who say that, we should let out a prison population to the point where it represents the where it's
There's some people
representative
that
of
say that, but
there
that was
there
not
there
what was
there
represented in the
right
documentary.
right.
So
So
anyway, I'm calling you out on that one.
right.
They.
So, but that was a point, that's a point of hyperbole to say
Mhm.
that okay, look, what are we looking for here?
Right.
What are we shooting for? Um, because and the reason I use that point of hyperbole is because you look at someplace like you look at something like the Russian Revolution
Hmm.
where where you had these classifications of people, of those who were of the proletariat and those who were of the bourgeois. Um, you had the kulaks, these sorts of things where and what ended up happening was there were quite literally, quite properly, criminals who were released from prison
Sure.
uh, to to take command of these towns and these sorts of things. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is that our criminal justice system is just fine. There's no systemic racism in the criminal justice system. If individuals follow the law, then it's indiscriminate. Everybody has equal protection under the law,
Well, there may be some individual racism. We discussed that
right?
with police officers and things, and that's maybe why they get into the criminal justice system more often. I don't know. But so I think there is some racism involved in getting them in the system. I don't believe that a judge is going to look at a black man any different than a white man in our criminal justice system. The Supreme Court doesn't look at it any differently.
Right,
From smallest court to the greatest court in our land, they don't look at it differently. I believe that.
right.
But I believe that they're overrepresented in courts because there is, I mean, what you call individual racism that drives the arrests
There
and
might be,
eventually
yeah,
the
but
convictions.
but here's the thing is, but here's the thing is, if you look at what Roland Fryer, formerly of Harvard, has done in his studies, he studied this very, very carefully. As far as the one thing he found out is that particularly black detainees in an arrest or whatever tend to be roughed up more.
Mhm.
That's what he found. He found that the black detainees tend to be roughed up more than any other racial group. That includes Asians, Hispanics, whites, whatever. They just tend to be roughed up more.
Mhm.
Um, just disproportionate to anybody else. But the thing of it is, what he ultimately found was that there's just the racism amongst law enforcement is statistically zero. That's what his study showed.
Okay.
Um, are there racist police officers? Is Derek Chauvin a racist? Maybe, but what you know what you know the thing of it is the system just simply does not allow for that, and in fact in this day and time in our culture is punished for that sort of thing. So
Yeah. But
yeah, so
it's at the officer's discretion if they, and I can tell you, if it wasn't for officer's discretion, I might have got a couple more tickets than I got in my life, or I might have been arrested for something silly in my life, okay?
yeah,
But I
maybe so,
wasn't.
yeah,
But I,
right.
okay.
Well, but
So it's
but
officer's
again that's
discretion.
right, but again that's anecdotal, and what you've got to look at is the
It's
overall
anecdotal.
statistics.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
the system just simply does not allow for race, and given the cultural backing of the police are racist. I mean, the police are at this point. This is a guess. This is speculation. I'm guessing. I would guess that, I mean, especially if I was a police officer, I would be very much more hesitant to advance aggression on a black person than I would a white person at this point in time.
Right.
Because just because I know that if I had
Well, it's kind of reverse racism then.
well, in a sense maybe,
In a sense,
but
yeah.
but right. So at any rate, the thing of it is that we don't have laws in our system that says, hey, police officers, go out and kill a bunch of black guys.
No, we
There's
don't have
no,
a law.
there's, we don't have laws like that. Okay, so that's what I would consider systemic racism. But again, you have to dial that all back to, okay, what are we talking about when we're talking about systemic racism?
Mhm.
What we're talking about is Western liberal capitalism.
Mhm.
That's so. So this is this is
Okay.
this is This is the system that
I
us
get
white men have set up so we
you.
can continue to remain superior over all of the other races. All right.
That's right.
That's ultimately what we're talking about. Yeah. So again, that was really the thesis of my piece in the Federalist was we're talking two different languages.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when you say so when somebody says systemic racism, I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, what law in our system is specifically geared toward oppressing black people? You can't
There is
find
none.
one.
No.
Okay, all right. So
But how many people that have authority get together and have a few beers while they're barbecuing, and you know they talk about whatever they talk about. I've been there.
they
I
do
know.
right.
And
Well, sure.
you know what? I'm going to put it out there is that everyone, including me, is
Yeah.
racist to some degree, and it's up to the individual person to control their own thoughts and to understand with themselves and their fellow human beings.
Right.
Because if
So
they're different, you look at people differently. That's all there is to it.
well, you do. Okay. So but again, and this is where the whole thing kind of comes in. Uh, I don't judge on the basis of appearance
Hmm.
unless you're a fat guy.
Well, thanks. Yeah,
No, I'm not talking about you. You're not fat. You're nothing
you're right.
fat
Yeah,
compared to
I'm
some of
way
these.
overweight, man. I'm obese. But anyway, go on.
I see some of these guys who are doing my job that are gigantic, that are
Yeah,
just. I'm like, how in the world you must be a piece of crap. How in the world can you be possibly doing this job and be that big?
yeah,
Stop stuffing your face with cheeseburgers.
yeah.
Eat something right. Do
And they're wrestling
work
those
out.
high and stuff down, and they're doing it all too. But anyway,
Right.
it's it's
So
it's a personal choice. But race is
it
not a
is
personal choice. But I want
right.
to I want to move on. We we we
All right.
we
Okay.
we beat number
Uh,
3 up enough, man. Let's move
okay.
on to number 4. Yeah, where
Yeah.
we get up to the women's movement.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
70s. So we went from the 60s about the civil rights movement, then they start talking about the women's movement. And
Right.
you put some pretty strong statements in here. You
Hmm.
know, you're talking about equality for women.
Yep.
Says you even said leftists. You called us out, leftists.
Yeah.
Leftists mean that women should overtake and control at least half of the roles. And I thought about that for a second. I'm going, wow, why wouldn't they? What's holding back women right now? Because in the 70s, women wanted to be created equal. Now I know because of physical size or strength or whatever, there's certain roles that a woman may or may not be able to do. I'm sure there's women that can do any of those roles because I've seen some really strong women or some very petite women, whatever. I've seen men the same way too. So there's women that can do your job. There's women that can do mine. It doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
But when it came down to what you were talking about, is that you were talking, and you even called out the person that talked about it, Sarsauer, right? That she thinks that
Yep.
50% of the with 50% of the roughly 50% of the population being women, why aren't we represented by 50% women in our like a legislature or something like that? And
Right.
I personally, I think we should be. I think that it would make our country better, and that women should be. There should be nothing holding those women back. And you talked about, well, with childbirth and families and all these other. I don't know. It just so I wanted you to explain to me why you thought that women, maybe it's because of the traditional roles. I said, in fact, I even wrote my note down here. Why would you think men should stay in power? Is it because of traditional roles? Is it because of the Bible? Or why would you think that men should stay in those traditional leadership roles? Don't you think women can lead? And
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't. No, I don't think so. So let me ask you a very simple question.
sure,
If you and Vicky were upstairs and you thought somebody was breaking into your house, would you send Vicky down there to take care of the problem?
no, probably not. I would do it,
Okay. Yeah.
but
That's
that's not
it.
about leadership.
It is. It's honor. That's the basic essence of it. So we're putting women in roles. Talk about the military. talk about governance,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. What in my estimation, what we're essentially doing is we're sending our women downstairs to take care of threats. Like, nah, yeah, you guys are just as qualified to go downstairs and take care of an intruder as we are.
I'm sure there's many. So you asked me about me and my wife in particular, but I'm sure
Right.
there's lots of women in this country that will go
I'm
out
sure.
and will go
I'm
down
sure.
and
I'm sure. I'm sure that's true.
I'm sure you're
However,
do that.
I mean, yeah. You want to talk about?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
She has no problem with the gun. She could
She'd
do
have
it.
no problem with a gun, and she would
Right.
have no problem meeting an
No,
intruder at the
it
door.
would. Yeah. She could definitely do it.
But why do you
However,
think that a woman? I mean, since the '70s, there's been a lot of role reversals in families where there's even stay-at-home dads. There's women that are out there in leadership roles in big corporations. I mean, it's not a lot because CEOs they're still down in that single-digit percentages and things. Why do you think women aren't equipped for those roles, and especially
well,
in political spaces?
I think forced into the situation. I think again. I think the world of Vicky.
Hmm.
I think the world of Jen.
Hmm.
Forced in that situation, they could take care of business
They'll take
because
care of it.
they're tough, strong women.
Hmm.
But uh, but while we're around, why should they be forced in those situations? Okay,
That gives the
so
next thing. Why do they have to rely on us to be around? There's a lot of
because
women
we're
that maybe don't
because
want
we're
to.
because we are bigger, faster, and stronger. Simple.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean,
So beyond the
biological.
physical limitations,
Yep.
like, and I agreed with this in the beginning. That's why I said there's some physical limitations, differences, and
Yep.
that. But other than that, I don't see why women, like in our Congress or our Senate, why is it not 50-50?
Well, well,
It's been 50
because
years since this, right? Since the
okay. So again, that the idea of I don't want it to be 50. I think everybody in power should be men because not because that's they have the power. Uh, see that's the whole thing that I dispute in this entire philosophical debate is that basically what this all boils down to is who's got power. I'm like, why does that matter so much? Who cares who has power? So what? You don't have power?
well,
So
no, but you
what?
just said something really important. You said that men should be in those roles, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Why? Why do you think
Because
men is
because
better
men,
in a role
because
than
at the
thinking
because
role?
at the end of the day, what we're talking about when we're talking about government institutions,
Hmm.
when we're talking about government fiat and that sort of thing, um, what's at the end of that? Who's
So
bigger?
are you gonna do the
Who's
barrel
big?
of a gun thing again?
Exactly. Who's bigger,
Okay,
faster, stronger? Yep.
bigger, faster, stronger.
Because you cannot institute a law.
Hmm.
You cannot put forth something that is a mandate without backing it up with a gun.
So does
And
that mean that countries that do have female leadership are weak,
yeah,
like New
yes,
Zealand or Germany? Do you think
yes,
they're weak? Is
yes,
that
I
Angela
do.
Merkel?
Yep, I think she's weak.
Really?
Yep. Uh,
Wow, you really are out in right field, aren't you?
well, but at the same time, what the reason women have risen to so I mean I have great respect for Angela Merkel. I do. I have great respect for Margaret Thatcher.
Hmm.
Very, very
Absolutely. Yeah.
tons of respect for Margaret Thatcher. But what when women have been the reason women have risen in leadership is because of men's weakness. Because we're weak. Because we won't take.
Not because they're strong, but because we're weak. Men are weak.
No, I think it's because I think women are enormously strong. And
Okay.
if we show the slightest bit of weakness, they're gonna put us down.
I
And
think
they
so.
have done 100%.
That's
They
why I
have,
want women to lead us.
yep. They have,
They can see. She
yeah,
takes no crap from anybody. She
yep.
claps back your buddy Cruz anytime she gets a chance.
Right. So, that's the thing. I think women are enormously. I mean, they are sitting there, and again, I take my cues from the Bible that part of the curse on women is that they will desire our roles. Yeah.
That's
So
correct.
so so yeah.
But
No,
why do you think of it as our roles? Why don't
because
you think
our
of it as the role and you bring the most qualified person, like we were talking about business a little while ago? Why wouldn't we bring the most qualified person to that role? Man or woman? Black or white?
Well, so here's the thing is so a couple things is one of the big debates going on right now is why aren't there more women in STEM fields?
Mm-hmm.
And the simple answer to that is most women are interested in being mothers. That's what they. I mean, at the
Maybe it was in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I
might
get that.
be
I don't believe that.
right. Nah, um,
I
that
believe that in their plan of life, yeah, but I don't believe that a person would forego their own personal education so they go, oh, I can be a mom. Unless you go back to your welfare queen story or something like that. But
no, 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 no,
that's a
no,
whole
no,
other
no.
thing.
Women. I am convinced that women have an innate desire to be mothers.
I think so. I think fathers
I,
will be fathers too.
well,
I think
right.
it's very strong with women. I get you. Okay.
Highest priority. So the reason women aren't represented more equitably in say the Senate or in tech or whatever else is because they're like, you know what? That's just not where my interests are.
Mm.
I'm more interested in being a mother. I'm more interested in being a wife than I am being a partner in the most prestigious law firm in the country. They're more
You know, because like Ruth Bader Ginsburg has said, we could be anything we want. All you have to do is get your foot off our neck, right?
yeah no well no
I think
and
that women are discriminated
but
against
that's
even more.
where no but she was wrong. She was wrong to say
Ginsburg
that.
was wrong.
Yeah, she was wrong. It wasn't that. See, here's the thing. Again, you have to go back to the slavery thing. Who freed the slaves ultimately?
Well, the Emancipation Proclamation with Lincoln, right?
Uh, Rich, landowning, Christian, white men.
Mm-hmm.
That's who freed the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave the women? Who gave women the vote?
Well, same.
Yep,
Rich white guys,
rich white guys who own land, etc. Yep.
right?
So, so the thing of it is that you, what's got to be examined here is natural law. What's
Right.
going on here? That's why Ginsburg is wrong. She's
Okay.
wrong because women can't
Natural law.
lead.
So you got the
Right.
biblical thing going on, plus this natural law thing too, right?
Right. Well, yeah,
Hunter
yeah. Right. Well,
gatherers,
and
Mars, Venus. I
natural
get
law
you.
is biblical, but the thing of it is, try to birth a baby.
I can't.
Can't. Yep. Okay.
Don't have the right
So
part.
right, you don't have the right parts.
Mm-hmm.
You never will. Even
Nope.
if you nope. Even if you transition to be a woman, whatever, you'll never be able to birth a baby
Right.
ever. So that is the foundation of natural law. And so
Okay.
okay, so from there, from that standpoint, we go okay. Where do women fit into this thing? Where do men fit into this thing? And so on and so forth. It's not to say that women can't do, in certain circumstances, can't do certain things, can't be leaders or whatever else. The point is
Lawyers, doctors,
right,
politicians. There's a whole
right,
bunch of fields that
right,
they're just
right,
absolutely great at.
right. But you have to understand the motivation behind the guys who said, okay, we don't want our women in those realms. It wasn't just like, oh, we think women are just, pieces of crap and they can't do anything. We don't want them in here, so we're just gonna, we're just gonna relegate them because they're just little more than a slave. That wasn't the thinking behind that. Those men were trying to protect their women,
Mhm.
100%. And if you
Because
listen
it
to,
was their women.
they were their women.
That's
Yep.
right. Almost
And
like motor.
no, no, but
Oh,
but our women would call us our men.
yeah.
My man, my
Hmm.
man
Still
does
said,
ball. Okay, so but the point, and if you listen to what was talked about in Amend, that was a point that one of the men brought out is we want to protect our women. That's our motivation,
hmm,
all right? And that's my motivation. I'm not going to send Jen, if she and I are lined upstairs, and an intruder comes in, I'm not going to send her downstairs to take care of that, and neither are you. And that was their motivation. All right. So
but
how
if
do
we're going to a city
again?
council meeting, I got no problem with sending Jen into a city council meeting,
Okay, but
right?
the
And
thing
she
that
can
is,
even run for office.
okay, so fair enough. So how do we sort that out? And
Other than the physical differences, having a baby, you got okay, that's one thing. Being able to stop an intruder if you're a big husky guy, whatever, okay. Beyond those physical things, I'm talking about thinking stuff. I'm talking about what you brought up: STEM, legal, medical,
right,
political, all those things.
right.
Why do we have, we should have almost an equal representative between men and women.
Well, yeah, maybe, but also remember, uh, so you can deny this all you want, but the number one thing women want is to be protected.
Mhm.
That's their number one thing. They want to be protected,
Mhm.
and they want to have children, and they want their children protected.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be really easy on you here because you're
All
digging a
right.
deeper and deeper hole.
All right,
But
good.
I'm going to just tell you that, you're thinking, I get where you're coming from, all right? And our society has evolved beyond you, okay? A lot of other people don't think like you, and a lot of the voting people don't think like you. And I
Hmm.
think you I understand that you have values. You have the traditional values. You have the biblical values, all those kind of things. And I respect you for your thoughts.
Fair enough. Yep.
But I think that we're moving beyond that. And it's been 50
Yeah.
years already since we had the women's rights and all that back in the 70s. And I
Hmm.
think that women should be more assertive, and I would push them up. In my as a manager and a director at a corporation before, okay,
Hmm.
I had a couple of mentees that I was a mentor for them within the corporation, right?
Hmm.
I never had a male mentee. I always had female mentees, and I don't know why,
Hmm.
but whenever they would set us up, as the leadership of the company, you know, they would say, okay, you guys want to be mentors this year? We've got these mentees. We won't assign you. We won't let you assign them. They get to pick. And for some reason, I had women pick me. I have no idea. I was very surprised myself. Okay.
Hmm.
But now those same women are in leadership roles within the corporation or other corporations, right?
Okay.
So I think it goes to show you, and it was funny about some of the one-on-ones we had around this, right?
Hmm.
About how they even felt they didn't feel as empowered. I had to kind of prop them up a bit within these mentor situations. That, what do you mean? You know how to do this?
Hmm.
Why would you be hesitant? You know,
Right.
if you were a guy or whatever, you'd be right out there, right? Why are you being hesitant about this? You're a strong woman.
Hmm.
You want this role. This is what you're doing. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I can remember having those type of mentor mentee one-on-one relationships with those particular people. And what I found is that if the women in my life uh, can certainly do anything that they want to do. And I think more
Sure.
women are going to want to do more of those, like you mentioned, STEM, politics, even a lot of the trades.
Mm-hmm.
You would never see a woman electrician, right?
Mm-hmm.
My whole
Right.
house was rewired with two women electricians that came in
Sure.
and redid my house. So I mean,
Yeah.
even trades, women are stepping up, and I do understand the physical differences, but I'm going to tell you right now, women are at it, and they should be represented.
Well, no, I don't disagree with any of that. I don't have a problem with it. Um, my problem in the Federalist piece was what all this boiled down to was in order for women to have that kind of empowerment, they needed to be able to kill to kill children that were impregnated in
Oh,
them.
you did mention that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
were talking you threw the abortion thing in there too.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was that was really my main point.
So in that paragraph, I even wrote myself a note here, so I'm going to
Okay,
ask you the question I wrote down.
sure. Okay.
So who's going to control their bodies other than themselves? And if somebody else controls this, yeah, who's going to do it, and why should they control the woman's body?
Right. So the woman has complete control over her body, right?
Good. Yep.
Okay. So she had sex with somebody.
Yep.
That was her choice.
Two
That's
people.
what right. That's
Yeah.
right. I agree with that.
Two choices
Two
together.
choices. She chose to have sex with somebody,
Mhm.
and now she's pregnant.
Right.
Um, and every bit. So we want to talk about science, like the Biden administration likes to let's look at the science.
Sure. Sure.
Uh,
I'm a STEM guy. I like science.
yep. Life begins at conception. You will not find a scientist who will dispute that.
No,
Not one.
I believe it does begin at conception, but it is not a human at that point.
And based on what?
Is it viable out of the womb? No.
And so, well, so a newborn baby would not be viable out of the womb.
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
A newborn baby would not be viable out of the womb.
Well, whenever it comes into being and it's breathing and moving and it's outside the womb, that's a baby. That's a human being. Okay,
Why? Why would you say that?
because it's a separate entity. It's not. It's no longer
Separate?
part of a
No,
mother.
no, no,
It's
no. It's no, it's not. It's not a separate entity.
well, no. It still takes care to be cared for during its childhood and everything else through
Right.
infancy,
Yeah.
through childhood and everything.
If
I
if a,
get
mo-
all
if a
that.
mother, right, if a mother gives birth to a baby, she just throws it on the sidewalk. What's going to happen to it?
Well, it's going to die.
Yeah.
But we have laws against that.
Yeah, yeah. And why should we not have laws against um, killing a life before that point? Right.
So I guess
In the
we really
in
have
the
to
in
talk about when it's a life. I know that all the
right.
anti-abortion people say, oh, from day one,
No, well, no. It's
when
no,
the
no.
egg
It's
is
not.
fertilized, you know.
No. It's not the anti-abortion people. It's the scientists who will tell you that. I mean,
It's
even
it's a
even
living bunch of cells, and you know that. Okay.
no, it's no. They will say that it's a human life. The science will say that. Even Peter Singer, who will say that even after a child is born, you should be able to kill it if you want to. Um, Peter Singer is a bioethicist
Hmm.
from Princeton.
Right.
I
Not
mean,
any. Well, yeah. If you decide that the child is
at least he's honest.
right,
At
right,
least he's
right.
honest
Hmm.
and says, okay, yep, the life begins at conception,
Hmm.
and even after the child is born, the mother should be able to choose whether or not she wants to sustain that life. I mean,
Right.
it's her choice, right?
Well, of course, if she throws it away, somebody else could pick it up and walk with it, right?
Well, 100%. But
Okay.
all right, so but the thing of it is that this was put forth as something that would be liberating to women. Um, so in other words, to have complete control over, I can have sex whenever I want.
Yep.
And even if I get pregnant, I can get rid of that. And all that in an effort to be more like a man. This is what I don't understand about the feminist movement is why do you all want to be like us?
So,
Why do you want to be like
so
men?
be like us. So I guess a man takes no responsibility whenever he impregnates a woman. He can just walk away, and there's no
Well,
responsibility.
no. Well, no. No. That that should not be the way. No,
But
a
they
man.
don't take responsibility, and there is no responsibility. You know that.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's up to the
okay.
woman to make a decision about this embryo, right?
Well, I think that men should be held to more account if that's the case.
But how can it be held to account? I mean, the man's just going out and doing what he's going to do. It's a one night stand from a bar. I mean, how's he going to be held to account? There's no holding to account. I
Well,
mean, it just
if
happens that way. Sorry.
if no, if you're
You're not going
proved
to
to
punish
be
the woman over a
well,
one
but
night stand.
okay, so all right, so yeah, I agree that's an issue,
This
right?
is back. This is all the way
So,
back to the
but
whole
but 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 but
premarital
which
sex and all the other stuff,
right,
right?
right. So what you're proposing the solution to that is let's just murder children before they're born. That's the move.
Well, I don't think it's murder. You do, but that's our differences, right?
Right.
So most abortions aren't like the ones that they sensationalize on the news, especially Fox News. Where they're doing this late term abortion, where they're dismembering a child inside the uterus and then sucking out the body parts and all that. A very high percentage, and I don't want to quote a percentage, but I think, well, it's a very high percentage, are just morning after pills. Is that okay?
No, it's not.
So
But
chemical abortion is off the table too?
yeah, no, it is. But because because we believe that these women are strong and empowered and have authority, and what they should do is say, hey, you know what? Unless you're willing to marry me and have a family with me, I'm not gonna have sex with you.
But wait a second, wait a second. But in our society, it's okay for men to go out and have sex with as many women as they want.
No, it's not. No,
Sure
I
it
would
is.
say no. I would say that's completely immoral.
Well,
I would
that's not
say
our.
just as strongly to men. No, you're not. This is not okay. The only person you're permitted to have sex with is somebody that you're married to.
Man,
Period. In a story.
you got a world of rules, don't you? I'm going to tell
Yeah,
you now. You want to bring that evolution in
I would be
our
100% for
culture,
that.
and
I'd be 100% for that law. If Congress passed a law that said you are not allowed to have sex or make sexual advances toward anybody, but somebody that you're legally married to, I'd be
man,
100%. I would be 100% in favor of that law.
really? And how would
Yes,
you
I
enforce
would.
that? With the barrel of a gun?
Yeah, yes, I would.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So,
Okay. Well, it
uh,
won't be any
yeah,
arguing about this one as I thought we would get some finer points, but I don't think we're going to get any finer points on this one
yeah.
because
Well,
I'm going
so
to tell you right now. I mean, you mentioned, or actually, I think I called you out on. When you were a young lad, I don't think you were worried about that one
oh,
early
I
in your
wasn't.
life.
No, but if
Nor
but
was
had
I.
there but had there been a law, I might have been a little bit more worried about
I
it.
don't know. Did you ever get a speeding ticket when you were a kid?
Yeah, but
There was a law
that's
about that, but you didn't
yeah, but
worry
there's
about
but there's but that's nothing compared to
it. Oh,
things
now
like
there's is
murder
that
or adultery,
is that
right?
like levels of sin? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's levels
One
of sin.
sin's worse than the other? I don't know.
Yes they are.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right. All right.
I mean,
Well, I'm gonna,
you can't. I mean, you think the same thing too, because you can't sit there and tell me that getting a speeding ticket is
no,
as bad as you putting a bullet through my
no,
head.
but I'm giving you the same kind of analogies you usually give me. Usually go off in extremes, right? You want to talk about
Right.
the
Oh yeah.
extreme object and how
Right.
that relates to something.
Right.
Okay.
That's
So
yeah.
I did the same thing to you. I
That's
gave you
the
the
reduct.
fallacy of
Yeah.
speaking
That's
anyway.
that's the reductio. Yeah. So you want
Yeah.
to take it to that extreme.
Mhm.
That's the thing is, and again, look at the Me Too movement.
Mhm.
Why not make it a law that that you can't have sex or make sexual advances toward anybody that you're not married to. That'd be a great Me Too movement
Wow.
law,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Would
Well, I
it? Would
suppose
it
it
not?
might be okay for you, but I'm going to tell
No,
you
no, no,
the,
no. It'd be okay for everybody because if you are found to make sexual advances to somebody in the workplace,
Mhm.
if you are found to make sexual advances on a college campus towards somebody that you're not married to, then you will be jailed. Um, let's make it. Let's just do it
So
that way.
until you're married, then we're going to walk around as
Yep,
in a
100%.
unisex environment, and everybody's going to.
Until you're married, you don't get to have sex. Yep, that's right.
Well, at least
Now,
we got how you feel about it. I don't think we're going to go much further with
I feel about it exactly that way.
it. Okay.
Because that would solve all these problems
Hmm.
about abortion and women's rights and everything else. And the whole Me Too. And again, I agree 100% with the Me Too movement. You know, men who are engaging in uh, sexual activity outside of marriage.
Hmm.
Let's prosecute them.
Okay. You got to be
So,
married to have sex. No way around that. Okay.
got to be married. Yep.
All
Yep.
right. Okay.
Yep. That would be my position.
All right. Be your
Here's
position
the thing.
today.
But all right. But my point in the piece was that women think that having the right to be able to kill their unborn children empowers them, and that's not true.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they said there, but what you
No,
actually
it
said
does.
was
No. It's absolutely what they said there.
no. There's not
Because
women out there making plans to have abortions. I can tell you that.
um,
Abortion is like a
no,
last ditch.
I would agree with that, but at the
Mhm.
same time, the philosophy behind that idea is that women should be able to have sex just like men with no consequences, just
Mhm.
like you said.
You're right.
Yep, women should be able to have sex with no consequences, and if they get pregnant, then they should be able to kill the child.
Mhm.
And that creates
I
equality.
don't like abortion. I'm going to be like the other people. I don't like abortion, but I don't think women are out there.
Okay, well, but you don't. If you don't like abortion,
Mhm.
you're outside. I mean, because
Well, I
the
don't like
mainstream,
it. I don't like the concept of it, but I think that it's a necessary evil within our society.
right? Well, okay, so now you are way outside of the mainstream
Mhm.
opinion on abortion, because the mainstream opinion on abortion is that it's good, that it's
Good.
righteous. Oh
No,
yeah, oh yeah,
that's not the mainstream opinion.
it
I think
is. I
no.
No, it's not. No,
The,
it's
the mainstream opinion, I think, is similar to me that there's acceptance of it.
no,
Nobody wants their daughter to do it but if
no,
they
no.
absolutely have
Oh
to, they're going to
no. People. These women are bragging about their abortions. I mean,
There may be some out there that brag, but I think it's going to
some,
be welfare.
No. This is the mainstream movement.
Hmm.
Is hey, those of us who have had abortion are yeah.
So
This is the,
you wrote
anyway.
to have
Okay,
equal
but
protection under the law. The left believes women must be unfettered with the burdens of like pregnancy, marriage, and family life that might hinder their access to power in the workplace and politics. That's what
yeah,
you wrote.
yep.
So equal protection under the laws. Well, that's part of the equal rights movement for women. But I didn't realize that pregnancy, marriage, and family life was a burden.
I
But
didn't either. But that's how these leftists look at it.
so one of my mentees, of course, she was single and she was unmarried, no children or anything like that. Whenever she was my mentee, but now she's married. I know she's got at least one child. She might even have a second. I don't know by now, but she's the vice president of an oil company right now.
Wow,
So
amazing.
and it is. She's
Yeah.
actually a wonderful gal, unbelievable.
Okay. All
She
right.
was she was an engineer and working into project management whenever I worked with her in a mentor relationship. And like
Mhm.
I say, we're Facebook friends, or not Facebook, LinkedIn friends. So I do talk to her, back and
Mhm.
forth once in a while. Usually with her big promotions all the time, I usually, congratulate her. Oh my gosh, you're doing great. Because
Yeah.
I'm quite proud to be her mentor at one portion, in
Sure.
one part of her life, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, glad to be that she's successful. And somehow she pulled it all together and did it. So I think that with that example, I think that women can probably do anything they want to do. And that, and
Well,
she
no,
came from a STEM curriculum too, because she's an engineer. So she went through the whole STEM thing, and yeah, quite amazing.
right, right. Well, and I'm not against having, you know, I'm not against women having careers per se. I
Hmm.
mean, so you look at Amy Coney Barrett. She's a Supreme Court justice right now. She's
Right.
got, I don't know, what, 9 children or something
Something
like that.
like that. Yeah, a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Things that have her own and a few adopted ones. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not against that.
Hmm.
What I am against is is men being pussies. That's what I'm
Hmm.
against. Um, I'm against men saying, "Hey, you know what? You women, you just go ahead and you guys just go ahead and do this thing, and we'll sit back and relax at the house and kick back a couple of beers."
Hmm.
That's what I'm against.
Hmm.
Um, I am against women who think that if they get pregnant, that they have to do a murder in order to fulfill their dreams. I'm against that.
So should
Okay.
their dreams be shattered if they do
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. So what's the choices? I'm going to do a murder or I can have my dreams
on a
fulfilled.
murder?
It
But
is a
anyway,
murder.
it's a murder to you. Okay, I get that.
No, it's empirically a murder.
So you've
If
got a
we're going to
daughter.
follow the science,
You've got a
right?
daughter in university right now.
Yep.
So if
Yep.
she came home and said, "Hey," wouldn't even hesitate. She would drop out of
No.
university to take care of a kid.
There would be no question. And in her mind, there would be no question if
Yeah,
that happened.
right.
That there's no choice. Do I kill somebody so I can have my dreams?
Hmm. Right.
That's that's
Your dreams
that's
might get put on hold for
that's
a
kind
little
of
bit.
the essence of human pathology, is it not?
Yeah.
Hey, if I can murder you to get what I want,
Well,
that's what I'm gonna do.
let's back it up a little bit then. Like I gave you a good example of a woman, a very
Okay.
strong woman.
Sure.
The very successful and strong woman that I've known for years, right? And
Right.
so that kind of shows you that women are capable,
Sure.
and they're
No
even
doubt
capable
about it.
to do all these things with a family while they're making a family, uh, continuing education, all those kind of things, because they're capable of doing it all.
No doubt.
So
They're
really, the
they're
abortion
they're
thing
super
is
they're
just
super
like
capable.
it's a
What?
convenience thing.
All right. All right. So what? So here's the thing is that what I want to say to my woman is, hey, you don't have to worry about a thing. Just take care of this house, take care of the children. I'm going to take care of everything else. You don't have
Right,
to worry about any of that. Okay? That's my instinct.
correct.
All right. Not
That's
not
that's
not
the world that you live in. I get it.
no, but the thing of it is not that my wife is not capable of going out and taking care of things. Of course
Right.
she is. She could
And,
in a lot of ways maybe she could take care of things better than I could. But
I would tend to agree.
well, so
In some
so
sense, of course, yeah.
but to say that, okay, all right, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna take care of these things.
Hmm.
You don't have to worry about a thing.
Hmm.
See, that's what I love about my relationship with Jen is
Hmm.
that I know for a fact, and she's done it before, that she could go out and take care of things, no
Yep.
problem. She could go out and make a proper income and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but what I find challenging as a man is, okay, let me take care of this for you. And she's
Hmm.
like, she loves that. She's like, all
Hmm.
right,
Okay,
I'm
well, it
cool with
works
that.
good. But I'm telling you, it doesn't
Right.
work for everybody. So
No, it
lawsuits are
doesn't.
based on.
It doesn't work for everybody, and I'm fine with that.
Hmm.
My point with the piece being that somebody felt like um, women should be given the right to do a murder in order to keep up with men.
Mm.
That was my problem.
I think that I understand how you pose that. Okay,
Okay.
that women should do a murder so they can keep up with men, but that's not what I got out of it. What I
Okay.
got out of it is that a woman has control of her body. That embryo that's still in her body is still within her body. It's part of her body. It's not viable outside of her body. And if she wants to remove it, whether it's a mole or whether it's other cells that are growing inside of her body or a tumor of some kind or whatever,
Right.
she has the right to get that done. Okay. Now there should
No,
be a limit somewhere. I don't think that these late term abortions, which is like a minute percentage of abortions,
no, I know.
and they're
I
done
know.
for a very specific reason. There's nobody out there going, yeah, I made it 8.5 months. Let's go ahead and cut up
Right.
the kid and yank it out, right?
Right.
No,
Right.
this doesn't happen. Okay,
Right.
it's a huge. It might be a stillbirth. It might be. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That you wouldn't even allow stillbirth abortions, or abortions of fetuses that
Well,
are not growing properly. You got to draw lines there somewhere, or maybe they've got a
well,
birth where they've got 9 fetuses in there and they want to drag it down to 3, so at least 3 can survive because they're probably not going to survive with 9 in there. I mean, there's all kinds of situations, right?
sure.
But so is that murder?
Well, sure. Yeah, it is. And so, and that's the calculus you have to make.
So it's
Is
not about willy nilly. You know, I was out on a date, so I took the date rape drug the next morning and or
right,
whatever.
right, right,
Because
right,
a lot
right,
of times when they decide to
right.
do those chemical abortions, they don't even know if there's really something there because it's even
Yeah.
too early for it
Well, and
to
that,
detect.
but
They're
that's
making sure that they're
you
not
know
going to
that
end up with
yeah,
pregnancy.
that should dial everybody back to okay. We're having sex, and ultimately, what's going to what's 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 the natural, again, talk about natural law, what's the natural consequence of a man and a woman having
Yeah.
sex? They have a baby.
But that's
Okay.
back to your beliefs that people shouldn't have sex before they're married. And you know what?
Right.
Culture is beyond that in the United States and most of the world. People are going to have sex before marriage. You just
Right.
have
Well, and that's the thing is why is that the cultural norm? Why isn't the cultural norm that you don't have sex before your
to.
marriage, before you're married?
Well, it used to be.
And why and why
Things have changed.
and why would we not push to have that be? I mean,
We're not
because
going backwards. We're not going to make America great.
why
Okay?
having sex before you're married is better. That's going to make your life more fulfilled. You're going to have a more fulfilled life if you have sex before you're married.
Maybe.
How? Explain to me how that's
I
true.
don't know. It's because that's what I want to do. If I want
Yeah,
to race cars or I want to have sex or I want to
that's
play baseball, there's all kinds of
right,
things I want to do. You know,
right.
sex isn't just always about love. Sometimes it's about recreation. Not
So,
recreation, but recreation, right? You know,
uh,
there's people out there that do it for recreation, right?
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, sure.
let's move on. We
And
beat that one up
okay.
a little bit.
So
Move on
right.
to love.
So right.
I know you're
Well,
going to love this one.
let me just add one more thing to that piece. You will be happier and more fulfilled in your life. I mean, this is statistically true. Okay. Um, if you do not have sex before you're married, that's just a fact.
So you could have been a lot happier.
I could have been a lot
There you
happier,
go. Okay.
way happier.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, well,
I
and
think
that's
this
the
is going to
thing
be a
is,
good one here.
and then on top of that, you cannot commit yourself more firmly to poverty than by having sex before you're married, especially as an inner city black person.
And one of the reasons is because if you end up not getting an abortion and you end up having the child, then you end up being one of those welfare queens and you're committed to poverty. I can guarantee you because ain't nobody making money on welfare.
Yep.
It's a
Nope. Right.
hand-to-mouth subsistence at best, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So
Go ahead.
maybe we could justify the abortions just by helping them out of poverty. Just flipping it on you here. But anyway,
No.
no, because it's murder.
No. What would be better is if they, okay, so the Brookings Institute think tank did a study on this. What keeps people out of poverty? One, getting a high school diploma. Two, not having children before you're married, and getting a job.
Well,
Those
I'm going
three
to
things.
say having children later in life, which may be when you're married or not married, but
Fair
and
enough.
later
Fair
in life,
enough.
not
All
having
right.
a,
So right, but the study showed that if you did those three things, it's virtually guaranteed that you will not live a life of poverty.
Mhm.
Black, white, red, otherwise.
Yeah.
Get a
Okay.
high school diploma. Don't have children before you're married. Get
Mhm.
a job. Those three things. It's simple. I mean, it's not complicated.
No, that's
This is
good.
not.
So in
That is
that
not.
case, if a woman does get pregnant before her time when she should to be successful, then maybe there's some gray in there and she could go ahead and get a
Well,
job.
okay, so I mean, there can be some gray in there, but at the same time, as a woman, you should be very motivated
Right? She should
not to do that.
keep that apple
However,
hitched between her knees. I got you.
right, exactly.
Mhm.
However, our government is incentivizing women to get pregnant without men.
Hmm. Well, they're not going to get them pregnant without men, but they're going to get
Well,
pregnant and they're going to have to deal with it. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
exactly,
Let's.
exactly right.
Speaking of men
All right, go
and
ahead.
pregnancy, let's get out of the pregnant for a second. Get to love about same-sex marriage. And this is kind of even goes back to.
A contradiction in terms.
I get that. I get what you
Yeah.
believe. I know that.
Yeah.
But it even goes back to when we talk about interracial marriages, right? Because they brought up a
Nah,
lot of
no,
stuff about
no, 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 no. Let me
yeah
stop
about
you right
loving.
there. No, let me stop you right there because can you change your skin color to be black?
No. Well, I
Okay.
probably but no.
All right. Can you change your sexual behavior to be a homosexual?
No.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You 100% can. I could easily.
Really?
Oh
So
yeah.
you can imagine that?
No, I'm not imagining it.
Okay.
I'm talking about the
So
literal.
you believe something completely
No,
different. I believe that.
the quite proper physical act of engaging in homosexual behavior. You could do that.
You
You could
could do
do
that
that
if
easily.
you had to. Yeah, if
Right.
you got paid what I don't know what.
But again, you cannot. Can you change your skin color to be black?
So
No, no, you cannot.
being a homosexual isn't about the act. It's about uh, the feelings of the person and the feelings of that person toward other people, right?
We're gonna base law on feelings.
We do. Yeah. Aren't most of our
Okay.
laws based on feelings? So you went completely out on the right field again. You got to
Okay,
go.
go ahead.
No, you went completely out on right field and you compared what somebody does in their bedroom to murder. Murdering the
Yeah.
person in the bedroom
Yep.
versus
Yeah.
having whatever they do in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So murder, first of all, murder is illegal no matter where you do it, whether it's in the
Okay.
bedroom, whether it's
Yeah.
out some whatever,
So
right?
why is it sodomy?
I don't know. Why is any sexual act, why does the government need to get in the business of anything that goes on in the bedroom that's not
Uh,
illegal every place?
because if I take Jen upstairs tonight and I beat the fuck out of her
Right?
and she's bleeding and missing teeth, that
Mhm.
should be illegal because that's what's
It
going
is
on in my.
illegal. No,
Should
it's
be
illegal.
illegal.
It's
Should be
illegal if you do
illegal.
that in your living room.
And
It's
so
illegal if
and
you do it
so
at the 7-Eleven.
100%.
What I'm
So
saying is that
why is it legal? Why is it legal for a man to take his penis and stick it up some other man's
you're
anus?
consenting adult.
That's no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jen could consent to me beating the shit out of her.
but that's still assault.
No, okay. And so why
And if
isn't
the guy
sodomy?
comes back and he says,
Why
"I
isn't
didn't want the
sodomy
penis
still?
in my ass,"
Why
he
isn't
can say
sodomy?
it's
Why
assault.
isn't sodomy still assault, even
Mhm.
though you consent to it?
Right.
Jen could consent to me beating the hell out of her,
Right.
okay? And some guy could consent to me sticking my penis in his anus.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. It's assault.
It's not
It's
assault.
assault. It is. where do you, so make the differentiation.
So by our laws, it's not assault. By your
It
belief, it
used to
is.
be, it used to be
In some
by our
places, it
law,
was, yes.
because sodomy laws were in place because they recognized that sodomy is assault, no
So why
matter
did
if
they remove them?
because because of the pressure from the cultural sexual revolution to 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 call something that is evil, like again like abortion, to call something like abortion, oh, just abortion, or plan, to call something murder, that's murder,
Mhm.
something else. That
So
that was my whole point of that piece, was we are not speaking the same language. We are
we,
not speaking this. Yeah.
you're off in the right field, way over there by the
Okay.
fall
But
territory.
but but I'm also, yeah. But I'm also putting forth. But the thing of it is that the left, all that matters is the story, the narrative.
Hmm.
That's, facts don't matter. It doesn't matter that when we affirm gay rights or whatever else, we're not talking about somebody putting his penis in somebody else's anus, which is assault, which we used to call sodomy, rightly so. They don't care about that. What they care about, they don't care about the fact that we used to, believe that once a child is conceived in the womb, that to destroy that conception is murder. They don't care about that. What they care about is their narrative. That's what they care about. They don't care about facts.
Who are these they people? I think what it is
Well,
you're concerned about your narrative.
no,
You want to control what other
no,
people do.
I'm concerned about the truth.
What
I'm
what's
concerned about
wrong
the truth.
with two people? Let's say it's and let's get away from the gay guy thing. Let's say two lesbians, two women that live together and they do everything together. Why can't and they whatever they do in their bedroom is their business and they want to get married? Why is that wrong?
Well, so
They're not
because
assaulting each other. Nobody's doing it. No, that takes your assault question out of the mix. So
well,
let's
no,
talk about lesbians.
no, I would still say that's an assault. You don't.
So a woman laying down in a bed with another woman, fondling each other is assault.
Well, yeah, I would say in a certain sense, and I think that is
But if it's okay
amplified.
for you and your wife to lay in bed and you can fondle her, it's not assault.
Well, okay, so yeah, we can get, yeah, we can get down to the.
I mean, you always go back to this whole thing about sodomy, and some people don't like that. I know you want to be graphic about it, and you want to make a big emphasis on it. But let's flip it the other way, because I know many lesbian women. They're just absolutely great people. I know a lot of gay guys. My office mate, and when
I'm
I
not.
was
I'm
in
not.
Canada,
I'm
was a
not.
gay
I'm
guy.
not talking about how friendly or nice they are.
Yeah.
I'm talking. I'm talking about the sexual encounters that they engage in. Okay.
So what's
And,
wrong with a lesbian sexual encounter? Why is that assault?
well, because it.
But what? It's not assault. It's not assault. It's two consenting people, maybe three or four if they want to
So
do it.
what? So what's your limiting principle there? That consent is the thing.
My limiting principle is it's none of your business what they do in the bedroom. If they commit a crime in there, I like what you did. You know,
Okay,
they
and
commit
so
a crime
right,
in
and so
there,
and so and right, and
then
so and so
take
where
care
and
of it.
so where are you going to define the crime?
Well, if
So
somebody's murdered, it's obvious there's a crime in there. If somebody's beaten
well,
up, there's obviously a crime in there, right?
right,
There's
and
two
so and
consenting
so and
adults
so
in
and
there.
so what if two lesbians who are quote having sex,
Mhm.
one of them ends up damaging the other's vagina to the point where she can't have children any longer?
I don't
Is that
know.
a crime?
I don't even know how they have sex. I don't know. You're
Okay.
making an assumption too about the males having sex in a certain way too, but everybody doesn't have sex the same way, you know.
Everybody should have sex the same way.
Oh, now we're going to another thing. So
Yeah. So right. So who's right. So he
Who's
this
to
what
say how I have
so
sex
so this
compared to
this
how you have sex?
exactly. So who is
Stay
going
out
to
of my
be
bedroom.
who's going to be the authority?
No
Right?
one.
You?
No, no one.
Who? No
It's
one?
between the two consenting adults. No one has authority. I
Okay, cool. Then I can beat the hell out of Jen tonight
No,
when I
that's
have.
not two consenting adults because
Okay, so
you're doing something
no,
against the
she
state.
no. She consented for me to beat the hell out of her.
Okay, but it's still the state will still charge you because you've committed an assault.
Okay, and why shouldn't the state charge me if I stick my penis in another guy's anus?
Because it's not assault.
Oh, it's
There are
not?
no sodomy laws anymore.
Oh, okay. Who gets to decide that?
Well, our legal system decided that. Our judges have decided that.
Oh,
Our
okay.
legislation has decided that. It's not up to you to make those rules. In
Oh,
your life,
who's it
you
up to?
can play by
Who's
any
it
rules you want.
who's it up to?
It's up to the individual. As long as they're
No,
playing
no,
with,
no, 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 no. Who's it up to decide what the laws are?
oh, us as a culture, as
Oh,
Americans.
oh, us?
Hmm.
Really?
Hmm.
Okay. So how come uh, it's the case that that abortion is legal? Wasn't up to me.
It's been up to a lot of people, I'm sure. How come it hasn't been rescinded? How come it's, realistically, they've never
So
passed
so
a
so so so
legislation.
so ultimately it is up to some majority opinion what is right and wrong.
Well, it was up to the Supreme Court about abortion with Roe versus Wade. It has
Right.
never been
So,
codified.
but
Codified.
my point being that what is morally right and wrong? Really, I mean that's a complete social construct, right?
Well, it is because whose morals?
Yep, yep. Whose
Your morals
morals?
are different than my Muslim friend's morals.
Yes, no,
It's
well,
different
a
than my
little bit,
morals.
but yeah, right. So who gets to decide? Yeah, because every single law that we have is laced with morality. So don't
It
don't
is.
get it is 100% it is.
Mhm.
Every, every single law. You cannot show me a law that is
No, it
not
all comes back to
laced
morality or
100%.
acceptable morality within the society. How about that?
I right. Except when we're so so
Hasn't
what
society and the culture evolved a bit? So the acceptability of some things has changed, like sodomy is no longer illegal. That doesn't mean I'm going to run out and do it just because it's illegal. It's not my thing. But what I'm going to say is, I've got friends that are gay, and I know their significant others also, and I don't judge them, and they can do whatever they like. I never see any of them beat up or anything like that. I think that you're in a you're. I know where you're coming from, because in what you believe, biblically, personally, all the other things, I know what you're coming from.
well
What
and it
I'm
well
saying is culture isn't there.
okay so
You're
so a
in the
couple things.
1950s.
Well, no, but no, I'm with human history. That's what I'm with.
Well, previous
Uh,
human history.
all right.
Human history is
No,
different today than what it is
well, and
in the
right,
50s.
and so people in human history tend to do things to destroy themselves.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if I have a friend um or let's just take my son Isaac and he
Hmm.
says, "Dad, I feel like I want to be a girl."
Hmm.
Would it huh?
I get it. I don't want you to pick on Isaac, man. You always pick
Well,
on Isaac.
but
But I
but
get what you're saying
but
is it's not your thing. You wouldn't approve of it.
no,
You
it's
would make
not.
sure
No,
it wouldn't
no,
happen.
no, 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 no. You see, you're missing the point. It's not just not my thing.
Hmm.
It would be immoral and evil and unloving for me to tell my son, okay, it's okay for them to take your dick off.
Hmm.
That would be immoral
Right.
and unloving. It would also be immoral and unloving for me to say, let's put him on puberty blockers because
Hmm.
he thinks he's a girl. That would be immoral and
Right.
unloving.
Hmm.
It would also be immoral and unloving for me to tell, again, I've got cousins on my Grabo side to say that it's okay that you sodomize the person that you say you quote love. That would be immoral and
Right.
unloving because
Mhm.
those things are destructive and evil and violent. That's
Okay.
my
I'm
point.
gonna end all that with
All right.
that's your opinion.
No, that is the truth. That's the truth.
Well, I
You,
knew
I
we'd get
mean,
to this one, and I knew that
so
we would be able to
again,
agree.
I mean, you have to be able to argue that it is good and righteous for my son to be on puberty blockers and for him to cut his
I
dick
don't have to
off.
argue that. What I
You
have to argue
don't?
is,
How? I
what
mean,
I have to argue, and I'm not going to talk about your son. What I'm going
all
to
right,
say is that if an adult makes a decision that they want to change sex or they want to be with somebody from the opposite sex or with the person from the same sex or whatever they want to do as an adult, consenting adult, they can
yeah,
make those choices in their life, and I
all right,
support
but my point being that it is not loving for you to I mean, if so say for instance, I said to you, Jeff, hey, you know what? This week I think I want to go out and drink arsenic.
that. Yeah.
That's what I would.
I'd
That's
probably
who I
say, hey,
am.
Phyllis, I don't know about this, man. We need to talk about it. So I
Right.
talked with you.
Exactly.
At the end
Right.
of the day, what am I going to be able to do to stop you? Nothing, because that's your prerogative. Although arsenic would be suicide, so I put you on a suicide watch list and all that kind of stuff. But if you
Right.
came to me
100%.
tomorrow and said, I'm going to get a sex change surgery, first of all, I'd be shocked, and then after the shock wore off, I would. You and I would talk some about it because I'd be very interested in actually talking with you frankly about it. Okay, it's kind of funny. The guy I used to share an office with, unbelievably great guy. We used to have some of those talks, you know,
Yeah.
and then
Well, and I think
we had such a great relationship. We even used to do the thing that's where the guy thing. That's what she said,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I used to pop him with that's what he said, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
and we still
Right.
talk to this
So
day. He's a wonderful guy. In
yeah.
fact, he's a
Yeah. So yeah.
he's a
Well. Okay. So
CEO of a company right now. He was the president of another company.
yeah.
Really super sharp guy.
Right. So I mean the point I was trying to make with my Federalist article was okay. Um, we make moral judgments about what's right and wrong.
We do.
Um, there have been entities that have used the 14th Amendment to bring forth things that I am absolutely convinced. I think empirically, I mean, just are natural law wise are wrong.
Okay.
Um, I don't have a problem with the 14th Amendment
I don't
insofar
either.
as
Love the 14th.
right, insofar as it goes, but it has been the foundation of gay marriage. It has been the foundation of a lot of things that I think are extremely harmful to people in our culture. That
So that's
that
your
that
opinion, though. But
no, it's no. It is my opinion. Okay, it
mhm.
is my opinion that somebody cutting off their dick is a bad thing. It is my opinion that somebody's you putting it put
Because it's their
taking.
dick. If it was their ear, if it was their earlobe, you'd be like, okay. If it was like
Yeah,
piercing
no,
tongue
man,
or something
yeah,
like
no.
that,
I would
getting
still
tattoos,
probably no. I would
all
still
kinds of
probably
modifications
say
can be done.
no. I know
Right?
there's a number of issues.
Well, I
Um,
know, but because it's tied to sex, it makes it a whole different can of worms. I
no,
get that.
it is, but yeah, it's. I mean, because it fundamentally transforms your body, and on top of that, I have plenty. I mean, overwhelming evidence that it doesn't solve any issues. The suicidality
Mhm.
among those who have transitioned versus those who haven't is still the same. So you
Okay.
transition, you still want to kill yourself.
Okay.
Um, and in addition, even more so, uh, on top of that, the women, and that's one of the oh man, one of the things I'm extremely worried about in our culture is that we've got teenage girls who want to have a penis, and in order to have a penis, um,
Well,
the
doesn't everybody want one? I mean, I like mine.
the um,
Everybody wants
the
one,
yeah, but sure, of course they do.
but only 50% of us get them. So
Right, but those girls trying to go through that, the procedure, that's the thing, that's you want to talk about women's rights. Um, the girls go through way more than the guys do,
I
because
know.
if you want to be a guy and you want to be, if you're a guy and you want to be a girl, that's yeah, it's pain in the butt.
Mhm.
But if you're a girl and you want to be a guy, that is a whole other topic. I mean,
Yeah,
just horrible, horrible, horrific. I mean, and that's the thing is there's no real experts out there, no real expert surgeons to you've got these charlatans out there,
you do whatever you can with it, right? I mean, you only got so many parts to work with, right?
right? And so I'm very much against that because I don't think it's good for women. And then on top of that, I mean, you've got this whole, men competing in women, well, like trans women, in other words, biological men competing in women's sports.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
But we have
Oh
to make
yeah.
about it and make it anyway. Uh,
Right. Right. So
it's
so
like
you've got
he's blowing the molehill into a mountain, right? And
right.
that's what it,
Well, so
what it
it's
that.
yeah. It's yeah. This is yeah. So the thing of it is, what I did not like about amend was that they're using the 14th Amendment as okay, this is the foundation of our country, and this is how we can get all of the all this stuff put forth
Well,
that that we want to, and so
well, they did
that's what
say that amend was the second birth of our country, right?
right,
And because it brought out equality, right? And I think, and me, the way I read the 14th Amendment is it does bring out equality. And when we do have these disagreements about morals or whatever, we still have to rely on our government to say, yes, we're still equal, no matter our beliefs and our morals and everything else, right? It's like with Christianity versus being a Muslim or being a Jew or whatever, we're still equal as Americans, whether we have those beliefs. And we can still practice those beliefs however we want to,
hmm
but we're still all Americans and we need to be treated equal in all parts of America, right? It doesn't mean I have
right,
to approve of any of it, right? Or you don't have to approve of any of it. It
right,
just means that we have to be equal with each other. And I think that's what the 14th Amendment, I think it was written originally because of race, obviously, right? But
sure.
and I think that the lawyers have done an absolutely great job to apply it to other minorities.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I'm not. Again, I'm very skeptical of it being applied to things like abortion. Um, you know,
It's
uh,
applied to women's rights. Abortion happens to be one of those rights. But anyway, it's
yeah,
applied
no, I
to
don't.
women having
Well,
equal
it's
rights.
right. Well, yeah, I don't think that. I don't think that has been helpful in making women feel more protected
No.
equally under the law.
It might
I
help,
don't.
and I read this the other day, is if we had all young men, right,
Hmm.
right to either during or right after puberty or whatever, that they all have vasectomies that can be reversed once they get married.
Hmm.
And
Why
that way
not?
women wouldn't have to
Maybe.
worry about that.
Yeah, maybe, but
It's a procedure.
yeah, no. Well, I just think that I mean, here's what I found astonishing in my life is that if I follow what Holy Scripture says, my life is going to be better. That's true.
Hmm.
That includes sex
Hmm.
and all the prescriptions that are in there.
Hmm.
If you follow that, your life
Okay.
will be better. Okay. So, so my problem with how the 14th Amendment has been applied and adjudicated um, is that it goes against that notion.
It's applied things that it's applied to things that go against the scripture and what you're
Yeah.
believing. I get that. And I
Right.
respect that what your beliefs are, okay? Don't get me
But
wrong. I'm
but
not
but 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 no
poking
no no
you
no.
in
It's
the
not
face.
even what I believe. And that sort of thing. It's just that's not the basic fact. The basic fact is if you obey what that says, consequently your life will be better.
Okay.
All
But what I'm
right.
telling you is there's a lot of people in the United States, a lot of citizens here
Okay.
that are not involved with any type of church, or
Okay.
they've been to church and they're not involved anymore, or
Right.
they're not interested in how you want things done. They're
No, no,
interested
no,
in
no, no.
equality.
It's not. I'm not. I don't. It's not even
No, no,
how
you're
I
trying to say
want things
it's
done.
not how I want
I
things
want.
done.
I want their lives to be better. I want
Right.
people. You want life. You want people's lives to be better,
I
right?
do. Yep.
I want people's lives to be better.
Yep.
How are we going to do that? Follow the Ten Commandments. Period. End of story.
Yep. I'm going to tell you that
So,
I want
and
people's lives to be
no, no,
better,
no,
and I
no,
want to
no,
give
no.
opportunity.
You tell me how people's lives are better when they have violated one of the Ten Commandments.
Okay.
Tell
If they
me.
violate one of the 10, they're probably got a problem. Okay. I give you that. But what
Okay.
I'm trying to stick up for is not about, I'm not here to bash religion. I'm not here to bash Christianity or anything else. What I'm here to say is that there's other people that don't believe, or they
Sure.
believe in something different,
Right.
and they can be Americans and have the same equality as an American as we do. We're not a superior being because those are our beliefs. All right?
No, no, I get
Okay.
that. So, but at the same time, you've got to set some kind of standard.
Mhm.
You've got to
Okay.
set some kind of standard. Okay. Again, just stick
No, I know
faith.
that you got to
Right.
set the floor. I get it.
You got to set the floor.
You
And
got to
so
set.
I my my opinion. Again, you're right. It is an opinion. My opinion is that we have not set the floor high enough.
Mhm.
We've allowed the floor to go. Okay, if
Well,
morally speaking, we've allowed it to go.
your morals.
No, not my morals. You
Okay.
know, again, and that's a whole other philosophical discussion. Is my okay? Are these my morals or are these God's morals?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to argue that. Okay. But what I'm
Right.
saying is your morals are based on your beliefs, your commitment to God, your all those things is what your morals are based on today. I understand that, okay?
Mhm.
But other people's aren't. But that doesn't mean they're immoral. We've got whole countries that aren't
Right,
based on anything
but
religious at all, but they
okay.
still have morals.
So a couple things. Right. So my morals are based on what I read from Holy Scripture. So the Ten
That's right.
Commandments, let's say. Right.
Absolutely.
Um, my question is, you know, what one question is at least
Hmm.
is look at the practical outcomes of defying those morals.
Okay.
Right. So, for instance, again, the whole idea of sodomy.
Hmm.
That's just okay. So you take lesbians. Okay, maybe struggle with that.
Hmm.
But you take
I
right.
listened
I
to you there
got
a little bit. I got you.
right. So I don't. Yeah, maybe you got me on that one. But but you take the issue of sodomy.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, men don't put their penis in somebody else's anus
If
without
they
it.
just said, I'm never going to put my penis in the guy's anus, but we're
Right.
still going to love each other, you would be okay.
Okay, but well, so hang on. But the point, but you're right.
It's still
Okay,
going to
so
happen,
but right.
okay? We still have to come to
So the
that.
point being sodomy is yeah. You know, so you take that into account. You take, okay, people that want to
Mhm.
change their genitalia, so you start really thinking about these things
Body
practically, and
modification. Yeah.
right, you look at the end results of these things. They're not good. They're not good.
You know what? I tend to agree with you that people that do those kind of things, these body modifications, and whether it's changing from a man to a woman or
Right,
their horns on their head or whatever they're doing, uh, facial tattoo, there's all kinds of things that
right.
are not going to make it good for you, maybe, right? I get that, all right? But it's their choice.
It is their choice.
And we can't
However,
make everybody perfect like you and I.
no, I know.
We have to let them make their own choices, okay?
No, I know. And I agree, and that's where I think we ought to think about very carefully, um, you know, what it means to protect our citizens, to
Hmm.
protect, each other, and to say, okay, you may think that this is okay, but as a society, we disagree with this.
Hmm.
Um, and I think gay marriage was one of those touchstones where we say, okay, hold on, no, okay, marriage means a specific. It has always meant a specific thing, right? That
The
that a
word,
man,
yep, and the act and the commitment and all the definition of marriage. I get you, okay?
right,
So
right,
you know
right,
what?
right,
I've always told my gay friends, I've got a couple of gay friends, well, couple of couples that, and I've always told them, I said, I get the whole marriage thing, but just to get the Christians off your back, why don't you just call it something else?
yeah,
Why don't you just use a
sure.
different word? And
Well,
instead of a
yeah,
union,
and
uh,
maybe,
uh,
yeah, maybe,
you know,
maybe,
because that
yeah,
seems
maybe,
to be
yeah,
the sticking point with a lot of people is the
right,
word marriage, right?
right.
Because they
Right.
own
Well, that was a big deal. Is why don't we call it a civil union, whatever else,
it. Hmm.
um, and
Yep.
and that sort of thing. And because and that's but the problem with it is that the revolution can't abide that. They've got to redefine
Yeah,
terms.
yeah. Well, not every place. Like in Canada, is kind of funny to me. Is a lot of people don't get married.
Hmm.
They have, then they even call this is heterosexual too. They call them partners,
Okay.
and they have a civil union.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're any less committed to each other. But
Right.
they're not doing a marriage in the church. But they call it a civil union, and they're. I'm not even going to use the word spouse. They're partners. They always talk about that because it used to throw me. It would be every time I'd be talking to somebody, say, "Oh yeah, my partner is going to be, going to meet us over here." You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
first thing I would think of is, "Oh, well, I didn't know you were gay,"
Right.
because usually
Right.
that's in a connotation of gay people.
Right.
But it's used more in Canada, or where I was in Western Canada. It's used more of a connotation of not that they're a couple, but they're not married, and it's not a religious thing, but they're still a
Yeah.
committed couple, right?
Right, right, right. Well, and that's see, that's the thing. You go back to Derrida, the critical theory, Marcuse, uh, that was not their goal. Because that sort of thing just really crystallizes and defines terms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, I have a partner. Oh, okay, okay. Now I know what's going on here. Okay, you're
Right.
probably conjoined to a man, whatever. Um, I'm not married, but I
Mm-hmm.
have a whatever, however the term, but it defines terms.
Well, just
And
that you make it that you're committed, right? Whether you've got a
yeah,
partner, whether you call it
yeah. No,
married,
I'm
it
yeah, I'm
so
100%. I'm
I,
100% down with that.
I brought
Define,
that up to my gay friends and said, well, why don't you just give them the marriage thing? And once you,
yeah,
because they still call each other partner, right?
right.
But they call each other
No,
spouse. They even call
right,
each other husband.
right, yeah,
And that feels a little awkward sometimes, but really
right,
not. You know, when
right.
a guy tells you my husband is over here,
Right, right. You get, yeah. That's the thing is but that's not the point
hmm
of trying to push for this. you're trying to redefine language.
Hmm.
That's really what's going on here.
Hmm.
And that was the point of my piece,
Well, we're
is
redefining
that
culture. It's not just
we
about
are,
language. Our
yeah,
culture's changing, right?
yeah,
I mean,
we're right. And so,
and think of the new words that the millennials and the Gen Zs are using that we don't even know
yeah.
what the heck they mean, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You got to go
maybe
look them up
so,
in different dictionaries.
but at the same time, we're talking about, on a national level about,
Mhm.
unity and
Right.
freedom and,
Mhm.
what do those terms mean? Are we speaking the same language? And the thing of it is that one of the goals of these cultural revolutionaries is not, hey, let's just not have, let's just have a, separate category of, civil unions over here, and that's their goal is to transform the language. That's what
Mhm.
their goal is.
But
And then what?
it has to evolve. We don't speak Old English like
Well,
Shakespeare.
sure,
It
no, no,
evolves,
no, no, right? No, I
and
get
the
that. No,
definitions of those words
but
have.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about language, transforming linguistically. I'm
Mhm.
talking about language transforming politically,
Yeah,
and this
the
is a
definition.
fairly new phenomenon.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing.
Well, no. Well, I would say there
Unify
is.
still
I
means
would.
the same thing. Unity means the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
No. But no. When Joe Biden says, "I want to be unified,"
Hmm.
that to me, that doesn't mean this. This. I mean, I'm not taking that as the traditional meaning of.
You mean like the Trump meaning of unified?
No,
Oh,
I'm not taking that either. What I'm
okay.
talking, what I'm talking about is all of us being Americans unified under,
Hmm.
under the Declaration, under the Bill of Rights.
Well, that's
But
what
but
I take it when Joe says that. I don't. Why don't you take it that way?
and I don't take it that way
Why?
because uh because what what I've seen is that freedom of speech is freedom of speech so long as you speak what we want you to speak.
Now, freedom of speech is still freedom of speech. It's open.
Yeah, it
In fact,
is.
it's opened up more and more and more. And then we've got some rules around some things that you can't do. I mean, it's not just the yelling fire in a theater thing, but yeah, you
Yeah,
may agree with everything Joe does, but freedom of speech is definitely there. You can still say anything you want. It's very obvious on
you
our
can't.
social media.
Well, yeah, I mean you can until one of the major uh,
Until you get
tech
banned.
companies. Yeah, until one of the major tech companies decides that, oh, your freedom of speech isn't allowed here.
Well, I think they're taking freedom of speech, and I think that they're, well, anyway, I'm not even going to get in on that one. All right. Man, we're down to number six.
Yeah,
It was six. You made me watch all these, and to be honest with you, before you brought this up, I wasn't aware of Amend.
yeah. No,
I actually went out
I
and watched all six of them just because of you, and
I try to
I
keep a
found it
sharp
really good.
eye. I try to
And
keep a sharp eye.
I've
All right.
even told some of my friends to go ahead and watch it too now,
Yeah.
because yeah, because it really helps out with some of the things. Anyway, we got to talk about the immigrants.
Okay.
The last part, the promise about immigration. You kind of went off the handle and said, why would anybody want to come here if everybody's being enslaved, tortured, lynched,
Right.
denied? Because this is basically and then the women are treated bad in like childbearing housemaids, and you lose your job for love because of who you love. You know,
Hmm.
Men portrays this horrible, heartless place, and anyway,
Right. That's a
well,
big question.
it's a big question, yeah. I don't think they really portrayed it as this place. I mean, they do talk about throughout the whole series. They talk about things that have happened. Did you dispute any of their facts or anything, or any of the things that they brought up? Was there's any fake news in any of that, or you think they actually brought
Oh,
it? How they
oh
presented it
no,
was
no,
one
no,
way.
no, 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 no. I think it was a completely accurate portrayal of how the 14th Amendment has been used to push through progressive, radical, socialist, Marxist agenda.
Marxist. You
That's
see Marxist in there?
100%. Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah. What are you talking about? I mean,
14th Amendment. How do you get Marxists out of the 14th Amendment? I don't.
um, um, well, you get Marxism. You can get Marxism out. You. Well, that's the thing is, genuinely interpreted, you can't get Marxism. You cannot, in any way, shape, manner, or form, get Marxism out of the 14th Amendment. But put it in the hands of neo-Marxists, they can get Marxism out of the 14th Amendment,
But
which
there's no
means that
Marxism out of the 14th Amendment now.
there
We haven't
is,
anything.
there is, according to this documentary.